build school in NC, but it's mostly CM at risk, and part of
is that we have a very collaborative, transparent partnership with all of our clients. We want to listen to what Wilson County wants for this school, and we do that very successfully. I think the one we're the most proud of was the new Sandy Hook School. You know, they were looking for a partner that was going to hear them and what they not necessarily wanted, but needed for that school. They needed to be able to honor the past, but look forward to the future. And they needed to do it in a way that that community felt safe, but they didn't feel like they were locked down. And I think we were very successful at that. And we're going to talk to some of the ways that that was successful throughout this project.
And so Ratio's completed over 50 major school projects in the state of North Carolina, and I can name every one of them because I was on every single one of them. And the map at the left there, it doesn't show the entire state, but it shows a large number of the K-12 projects that we've completed and a few that are currently in progress. And I want to just share a little bit of that experience with you, that the 54 schools we've completed includes 21 elementary schools over the past 34 years. We currently have the Park Road Elementary School in Charlotte under construction, and Briar Cliff Elementary School in Cary with Wake County Schools is in the construction document phase. A couple of these images show the Southeast Raleigh Elementary School and YMCA, which was a really unique public-private partnership. It was part of a purpose-built community whose goal was to break the cycle of intergenerational poverty in the underserved community of Southeast Raleigh. And we were fortunate on that project to work with Michael Pritt when he was with, there he is over there, with Holt Brothers Construction. And we actually worked with Michael on several projects. So while we haven't done a project specifically with Consigli, you'll see that we've worked with several of their key team members on many projects. We have also completed over 30 high schools and middle schools in the state of North Carolina. And while we know this is an elementary school, we just wanted to give you a sense of the depth and breadth of our K-12 experience in this state.
Our team worked with Our team worked with Miles on Felton Grove High School in Wake County that just finished construction last year. This project had a very challenging site and schedule, but together we worked through pre-construction and construction to deliver a really beautiful school that students, staff, and the community really, truly love.
And I think that's really important to emphasize that I just worked with Hal, Emily, and Lisa for 2.5 years. And we know how to communicate with each other. We know how to work really well together as a team, but we also know how to collaborate with all the stakeholders, whether that's the Board of Education, the school district, or the end users. There's no one better for this project than Emily Earle. She's very open-minded, she will listen, but she's also very intelligent and has so much experience in K through 12. All the challenges that come with a project like this, you're going to be met with very creative solutions, and you should want Emily on your team. I'd invite you to reach out to one of our references, Matt Taylor at Wake County Public Schools, worked with all of us and can really tell you kind of behind the curtain what that experience was like. So again, I think there's no better partner you're going to find for this project than the partnership we can bring to you for the new Wellshorn Elementary School.
Right, so let's slide into the design build process. We mentioned that, you know, this is a design build project. We want to make sure that we're leveraging design build. We are design builders, Consigli. We're not just a CM that would enter into a design build contract. So what does that look like and what does it do for you? In the kickoff and alignment phase, which is the first phase, we sort of make sure that we break down those typical silos and get collaborating with your teams immediately. We do very interactive workshops to establish what we call a speed of trust, right? Like to be transparent, open with all the information you need to make the right decisions, to work on schedules and everything. You see these happy people like working on a schedule together in a full planning session. Anyway, the result is that we align on your vision, your constraints, and your definition for success on the project. Next, we go through and we blitz the due diligence phase of the project. We need to make sure that we flush everything out of the bushes on this one, right? What's in the ground? What are the authorities having jurisdiction? In other words, the code officials, all the utilities. What are they going to impose on that project and get that out of the way in the first 60 days? This, for you, prevents future disruptions on the project and also lowers contingencies. It allows us to carry very thin contingencies if we kind of make the unknowns known in those first 2 months. In the next stage, we're going through concept development. So if you can see on your screen, there's a graph with two curves on it. The red curve is our curve, the yellow curve is a typical curve, and the sweeping line from the top left to the bottom right, that says basically, as time progresses and as the design progresses, it becomes harder and more expensive to change things. So if you capture the opportunity of collaboration, and that's what the red curve versus the yellow curve represents, the yellow curve being the traditional method, the red being ours. If you collaborate early, you can get more scope into your project because we are going to find innovations by bringing the subs to the design process, bringing our construction team to the design process. Next, we talk about schematic design. So we view it, the design phase is a series of decisions to make. The design builds on each decision made prior to that. It builds up thousands of decisions. If you get through midway through the design and find out you're X% over budget, you've got to unwind all those decisions to lose all that time and really claw back nickels on what were dollar opportunities. So when we go through this phase, it is our responsibility to bring to you all the information you need. So that graph shows four brick. You can build a brick wall in 4 different ways. One's 30% cheaper, one's 20% faster. We'll give you that level of information when it's time to make a decision with our recommendation. And then these last two are really sort of behind the curtain, if you will, but the result for you in design development and in the construction phases, we are going to overlay our construction partners. We're going to pull the subs forward in the process. They're going to be involved in the design, collapsing the schedule for you, and also giving you cost assurance. And then, yeah, finally, we get to the construction documents phase, and we go into permitting.
So Rob is kind of getting to that pre-con phase, and one of the big questions that y'all asked was about the local participation of subcontractors. In our RFQ, we actually presented a list of subcontractors that we intend to use through that design process. And those are important folks to us, whether it's ST Wooten, Watson Electric, JD down at North State, all those folks. We have great relationships with them. I've been in this market for a long time doing that. Was part of the JV that did the Rocky Mountain Vet Center as well as other local projects, right? So we're going to rely on those relationships. We're going to bring them to the table. But the truth is, we also have to go regional. We have to drive competition on the project. Competition on the project is what's going to drive the dollar, get you the best value for every dollar that you spend. We'll even do that in a national way in terms of some specialty items that come when it comes to schools too, right? So other big question is the hub MWBE participation. I've actually worked for a hub CM for several years to help build one of the largest ones in this market. So it is something that is very important to me. You can click on my LinkedIn and see that. So it's also important to the consignment ratio team. We're going to make sure that we get folks engaged on the project. We're going to make sure that we hit the participation. And specifically, we're going to commit to a 20% participation rate on this project for y'all.
You've heard a little bit about the design-build process. Let me dive into our design process a little bit more. Because developing a strong community identity is really important to the education experience, especially since you are combining 2 existing school communities. Early in design, we want to set up a workshop with you and your key stakeholders so that you can go through some engaging and interactive exercises similar to what you see on the screens in front of you. To build consensus and generate dialogue so that we can identify the goals that you have for this project. This also allows us to learn more about the surrounding community, the culture, and the history around this project. As an example, we did a reconstruction of Garner High School that had a really large community presence. And as a way of preserving that history and culture and pride, we were able to repurpose the existing gym flooring and use it as wall paneling in the entry lobby. And this is just a way of unifying multiple generations of students together. We would love to find a way to, or find an opportunity to unite these 2 schools in the design.
One of the ways we'll work with you all throughout the design process is something we call live design. And really what this means is when you all are making decisions with us in the room, we have a visual tool on the screen. We do not want there to be any questions on your end about what you're agreeing to while we're talking to you. You want to be able to turn back to your community and feel confident that you know exactly what kind of the spatial result of some of your decisions are. This example is from Swift Creek Elementary. It was constructed in Johnston County. And you can see as we kind of progress through the different phases of the project, you get to the point where you know exactly what you're going to get at the end of construction. We work directly in our documentation model that reports back to Rob's group so they can evaluate that for cost in real time. All of our trades are linked into that, so everybody can see what's happening. And when you get to the end, there's no surprises. And if you notice between 3 and 5, the only difference there is the floor, and that's because this project was so under budget, we were able to get terrazzo in it. So, it's just a way of helping you all feel very confident about what everybody's going to see when they move in. So this is the prototype that we are starting to look at for your site. We have a few other prototypes that we could look at, but what we really liked about Swift Creek Elementary is that it's a very efficient, straightforward construction. It's got a 2-story classroom wings, kind of an orange splayed out left and right there. And then there's a central community defining hub there in the middle, which allows us to close those wings off after hours so you can very securely use your school for gym, sports events, theater, things like that. And then there's kind of a single-story admin and media center there at the entrance, kind of defining that secure entry vestibule. And all of the play areas are actually at the back of that facility, so it's a very safe and straightforward option for your site. The other thing that we really like about this project is it bid $2 million under budget. And the cost per square foot is at the lower end of what we're typically seeing as an average across the state. We work very closely with Matthew Johnson, who's the facilities person who's now with Cumberland County Schools. I would invite you to call him up and talk to him about his experience working with us. But we landed on some very easy to maintain finishes. It's a very resilient building, and it's something that we're very proud of. It's a bright, fun learning environment, and if you'd like to tour it, we could do that as well.
And this particular school was in Johnson County when Matthew was in Johnson County.
That's right.
And so because you asked, if we had an existing floor plan, an existing prototype to be able to use, we wanted to start exploring how could that be used on your site, just so that we know that we're meeting the requirements of developing a school in today's, the requirements relative to stacking, to access, and layering in the complexity of working on a site with an existing school still functioning. So we took the Swift Creek prototype and laid it out. It does work. You'll see that parent stacking and visitor and staff access is the kind of light blue. It would come in off of Grove Street, kind of come around the existing school, and then be able to enter at that entry point. The bus and service access is in orange. That would come off of Pearson Street. You have that separation that is required. But we started to look at, is there other efficiency to be had with this? So we took the prototype and we kind of identified hinge points and just changed it a little bit so that we could both make the building work better relative to solar orientation, creating a really nice courtyard that students can use, but also in finding efficiencies in limiting some of the site development, which has a cost implication. So with this one, parents and visitors are the light blue. They come in directly off of Kincaid, and then staff and service and buses come in off of Grove Street. But then you have this nice pedestrian and bicycle entry to that main entry point off of Kincaid. But ultimately, we're looking to create the best site plan and make use of the areas that are going to be left from demolition of the existing school for play spaces, for multi-purpose lawns.
And really what you're looking at, the change appears to be maybe a little bit more drastic than it is, because the only thing we've done is we've kind of rotated the classroom wings in a little bit, and then we've switched the main entrance for the admin with the mechanical area. So it's just kind of a couple blocks that have swapped, and it kind of creates just a little bit of a different geometry there.
But it allows the building to respond best to how the site will best function.
So the big question is, can we build it? and we built it for $44.1 million. Everybody's going to stand up here today and tell you that, yes, they can. I would challenge that with two questions, and that is, how are you going to build it, and what are you going to build? Because if they're going to build you a straw hut, it's really not worth $44 million, right? So this dashboard here shows you what the budget is. It shows you what that estimate is, the current estimate. That's actually pulled from data from the Swift Creek prototype that which you just saw with design costs integrated. Now, y'all have some advantages there because you got a great site. So your site costs are going to be reduced to the average school cost, right? So that's going to save you money directly. Probably the most important thing here is we're going to show you exactly what we're doing at every time. You've heard about live design. Rob talked about the CVAs. We're going to put this in front of you. This is your dashboard, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to see exactly what every concept and idea costs, when he ties to it, plans, photos, anything that are involved with it. So this is our transparency. We want to be a partner. We have data, more data than anybody available on design build schools on the East Coast right now. So this is your tool to use through the process.
Yeah, and, so on hitting Mike's point of, can we build it? Yes, but we would also like to build the best thing possible, so we won't get that straw hut, right? So one way to do that is, don't just come to me with a problem, come to me with a solution. We want to bring money to the project. We're outlining two ways to bring money to this project today, to the construction of your school. One is Hal and the ratio team have already talked about the prototype design. So that's going to add money by saving design costs. Also, we're going to do this, which is the new market tax credits. Now, to be clear, we have to apply for this, but we have, this is something we're excited to kind of show your team. We have a consultant on our team who is an expert in navigating this very complex tax credit process that will add between this and the prototype, will add $4 to $5 million to your budget, okay?
And the 4 criteria you saw on the last slide, we've already met with them. In your project, your location checks the box on all 4, so it's an excellent candidate. So Ratio recently worked with Northampton County Schools to apply for and receive $62 million in needs-based grant funding from the Department of Public Instruction, similar to what you've done for Wells Hearn. However, Northampton County Schools hasn't built a school in 30 years. So they were pretty reluctant to make some of the hard decisions and choices needed to cut any program or anything to get down to that budget. So about that time, their attorneys became aware of the new market tax credit program. And we worked with their attorneys to apply for and receive an extra $6 million in new market tax credit funding, such that now Northampton County Schools is getting everything they wanted. The project is currently under construction, and it will open this year. And we'd be happy to share references with you for Northampton County School System, for the attorneys, or for Cameron Gardner, who we work with on the submission, the application process.
So I think we've been very focused on cost certainty, which is really, really critical here, hitting the budget, but also just as important is schedule certainty. So we understand that kids will be in seats in August 2028, no exceptions. When we're building a school, that's non-negotiable, and we understand that, and we all excel at that. So looking at the schedule here, you've heard about the prototype, and that's going to show a lot of benefit in the design phase. Traditionally, you'll see a 12 to 15-month design duration. Here, we're showing you a 9-month design duration. But also, you're seeing really how the design build process can excel, because we're overlapping design, procurement, and then you see construction starting too. So we're able to blend everything together. We're creating a runway to mobilize for construction in February 2027, and we're looking at a 16-month construction duration. If someone stood up here today and told you 12 months, that's unrealistic. Swift Creek was 16 months. We've built a variety of schools that come in at that 16 to 17-month duration. And really why that's important, if you look, we're targeting substantial completion at the end of May 28, and that falls right in line with your milestone to begin moving in June 28. And that's important that we give a couple weeks for move-in, but then we also want to make sure we're focusing on abatement and demolition quickly, and that's important because that's noisy, disruptive work. We want the abatement and demolition of the existing school to be complete at the beginning of August, so when that first day of school comes and all the students are so excited to be in their new Wells Hearn school, abatement and demolition is done. We're quiet on the other side of the fence, just doing site finishes through the fall, and we hit our final completion goal in December 2028, which again is right on line with the milestones.
So as far as logistics, the most important item I want to stress, separation of student safety and construction activity is priority number one. Not only do we understand this, but every subcontractor working on this project will understand that as well. So how do we do that, right? We will contain the job site within the job site, right? One of the first things that we're gonna do is relocate the existing playground and obviously get that outside of our fence. Deliveries, we're gonna know what deliveries are coming and when. There's gonna be a blackout time of when subs are allowed to bring deliveries or not. It's not going to happen during student drop-off and student pickup. So that's something that we're gonna review to them in D-scope. We're gonna put that in their contract. We're gonna review that during the subcontractor meetings, and we're also gonna review that every single morning during the superintendent stand-up meeting. Subs are going to know when they can bring deliveries, and when they do bring deliveries, we will have a flagger outside on the road, bringing the trucks in, watching pedestrians walk around the area. It will be managed. So site appearance. This job site will be clean, this job site will be presentable. The way that that fence looks like on day one, it's gonna look the same the day we're taking it down. It's gonna be post-driven, it's gonna be clean and presentable. Viewports. So we put viewports on the fence to kind of show the students and the parents and the faculty kind of the construction that's going on. Because the job site's clean and presentable, we want everyone to kind of look in. It's exciting once we get to construction to see foundations going, to see steel getting erected, to see the envelope getting constructed and the landscape. It's a fun time to kind of look in and see what's going on. When we get into phase two, that's the demolition of the existing school. A lot of the principles are the same but reversed. Everything is going to be coming in on the left side of the screen versus the right. I think the biggest challenge with phase two is now we get into a dust mitigation plan and loud demolition noise, louder than phase one. For this, I really want to have like a working relationship with Principal Hayes to kind of discuss when is the best time to make the loudest noise. I want to have that relationship phase one and phase two, just to kind of keep that dialogue. At the end of the day, we are guests working here and we understand that.
And then last but certainly not least, why do we love building schools? Craig started to allude to it in that we want to show these kids what we're doing, because selfishly we think it's pretty cool. And we think, working with the littles, the best part of working in elementary schools is they think everything is awesome. They want to see every truck. What is that? What's happening over here? I grew up in a very small town and never saw a building be built my entire life. And I very much stumbled into construction and found an industry that not only I'm good at, but I found very fulfilling. Like, what an opportunity to be able to show these little kids that this is a world out there that they could pursue when they grow up. They're also fun to talk to, right? We go in, I've been grilled by 5th graders about geothermal wells, and they ask me questions that I could not answer. We have websites that the teachers will ask us questions. Again, what kind of truck is that coming in today? What are you doing today? And we would post the equipment of the week. We have coloring contests with them. There's no end to what we can do with the little kids, because at the end of the day, we don't want to come in and just build a school. We want to help you build a community, and we want to inspire that next generation of potential builders. So at the end of all this, we want to be your partner. We think our design build experience and ratios experience here in the state will really serve the Wilson County Schools and help you get the most program for that $44.1 million budget. And with that, we'd like to open it up to questions.
Board members?
I'm happy to see that you have a 20% minority involvement, and that you are looking at local subs for this. Let me ask about the new market tax credit.
Yes, ma'am.
And your statement that an initial, I guess, look at our needs, and if I heard you correctly, $4 to $6 million. Is that because you see that you would be going over the 44 million, or is that to be,
No, ma'am, but if we can unlock those credits, what it does is allows us to make a lot of the decisions easier on what are inevitable. I mean, I'll be dead honest with you all, that the, you know, based on past school project construction costs from this region, right? It's not a lavish budget, it's achievable, right? But it's gonna take work to get there. We would love to bring you more budget so that you won't be making hard questions about endurance of your building and maintainability of your building versus just to achieve an initial first cost. So sometimes, you know, we might want to present a better wall system or an heating, ventilation, air conditioning system that will save you money over the long run, drive your operating costs down, be much easier to maintain, lower cost, but they may come in at a premium. And we'd like to unlock the ability to make those choices for you and to basically get as much into the shopping cart as we possibly can for your budget.
And just to clarify, the amount is roughly 10%, so for yours, it's around $4.5 million. Northampton County High School was $6 million because it's a $60 million project.
So of that math, I gave you $4 to $5 million. Between 4.1 million is the new market tax credit opportunity, and about 1% of the project cost, or about another $500,000 or so, is the prototype reduction in design and time.
Yeah.
and how does that fit in with our requirements from county commissioners in terms of, and what does the tax credit actually? I know it makes more money available, but what is that whole
Yes, ma'am.
interchange?
I will not mess with you. This is a complicated process, but that's why we put the True Mountain Capital, they're on our team. This is all they do, 24/7, is new market tax credits. And they did it with Hal's team, successfully got unlocked that extra.
And it's happened other times in the state of North Carolina too, and that's why the attorneys, your attorneys, and the county attorneys, I assume if they're involved, it would also be engaged in that, but it's a process that you do. But essentially, you're not getting the tax credits, the investor's getting the tax credits, you're getting a funding cash flow from that, from the way the mechanism works. And it's not 100% guaranteed, but having met with him, you check the key criteria. It's an important community building. It serves more than a 50% minority population. It's in the right zip code, and it's a federal program, they like to distribute it equitably across states, and North Carolina has not received its fair share, so North Carolina checks another box. So he said he felt very confident you would get it, as he did when we did Northampton, and he actually delivered more than he told us he could at Northampton.
And to be clear, that, we're not gonna, you won't have to pay $1 to that investigation prior to approval, right, of those tax credits. Nothing is gonna come out of this project budget that he and True Mountain Capital and that expert that I told you is gonna help us navigate this process, he only makes money if we're successful in getting those credits. He is excited to do this project because he sees a very high likelihood of success here. I think he characterized it as 90%.
Are your attorneys Tarrington Smith?
No.
It's not, okay. Okay, good, yeah, because Tarrington did it with us in the other one, but I'm sure Pointer Spruill would understand the process too.
But to answer another one of your questions, what if we don't, because we have to go through that application process. We would set up alternates to do that. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
May I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I noticed you talk about Swift Creek as being your
Prototype.
prototype. If we have a prototype within our system that we have built elementary schools around, could you look at that and see if that is doable on the site that we currently have available?
So I suspect if you have a prototype designed by another architect, there would be, usually that's a joint copyright between the owner and the architect, and so we probably couldn't use, now we could look at it to derive principles and design our own, but in adapting someone else's, you might not realize some of the same design costs, because part of what you're saving with a prototype is the fact that we've done it before. And Dewberry, who are engineers who've worked here, they were the engineer on our prototype as well, so we're not having to design as much if we've done it. A lot of the processes, site design is all new, and a lot of the permitting and CA and the adaption to the site is new, code changes are new, but you get a big head start into schematic design by having a prototype. So the savings in a prototype are marrying the architect who did the prototype with their prototype.
So when you're talking about a prototype, you're talking about your prototype.
Correct.
But not our prototype. And if I'm not mistaken, we own our plans
Right.
that for other schools that can utilize.
And what we would do, though, for that visioning process that Emily talked about, is we could have an exercise where we have ours up there and yours up there, and we do Post-its on what you like about each. And so we could borrow ideas for yours in the adaption of ours, so that but yours, I assume, is based on Department of Public Instruction program standards, which is what the Johnson County one that we showed is based on. And so the program similarity is going to be very similar, but if there are certain things that are unique to you, that's what we'll find out through that visioning process and make it yours.
If you love that prototype, for sure, in the design-build world, there's often something called a set of bridging documents that an owner would provide to a design-build team where they've paid another architect to develop a set of plans. If you have the legal right to do so in your contracts with that architect, you could offer that as a bridging document. If you love that prototype and you know it's exactly what you want, and we could use that as a starting point, but they would have to re-engineer and redesign a lot to make sure that they're not, it's called plan stamping, you're not allowed to do, right?
Right,
You just
right,
can't
it's
stamp
illegal.
somebody else's work, so, yes, ma'am.
Am I the only one asking questions? You get the gold star.
Well, I've got a couple, but I'll yield to anybody else that'd like to ask. All right. Thank you. So, do you have a rendering of the front of this?
Yes.
Yeah, flip back to, it was on, I think, that
The
collage,
elementary,
the
yes.
collage slide, yeah.
Your rendering is what you submitted for your RFQ.
We'll actually, yeah, it's that bottom left image, Swift Creek Elementary School that you see on the board.
Okay, so this front and what you're proposing would face the existing wells, is that right?
It depends on whether you use the original version of the prototype or that modified version of the prototype, right, Lisa?
This space would be facing Kincaid, so basically the front door would be facing Kincaid.
So the front door would be facing Kincaid.
Well, while he's doing that, in your
So here.
initial RFQ response, I appreciated the renderings that you did for the different phases to show the utilization of the space and making sure that our current site was, in other words, encapsulated
Buildable, yeah.
from the build, and that you would then go back and do the necessary demos and provide for the drop-offs and all of that.
That's really important to us. I mean, we came out to the existing Wells Elementary School to make sure we understood how the buses were entering the site, where most of the kids came from. And that typically, again, was from the west. So we said, no, we have to come in off Kincaid from the east to bring our construction traffic. We don't want to go near the front of your school. Again, we're guests. We would never disrupt the existing school.
Craig's our active campus expert. I think you saw one of the pictures showed that they had to build a school was that between the scaffolding and the existing school was 10 inches or something like that, and success.
10 feet.
And Lisa, we had about 60 feet on this one, right?
Yeah, well, and you can see from the, just looking at the pure prototype, that it is kind of tighter to the existing school, and it kind of required us to have to kind of use more of the site around the existing school to make the new one work for day one for staffing. So that's why we started looking at just little modifications of the prototype to make the site work better. I mean, both for construction, kind of during construction, in letting the existing school function the way it needs to as safely as possible. But then also in kind of the efficiencies in like not building as much pavement in the kind of modification of the prototype, and how it was able to kind of get to a more kind of dense and I think better organized separation of like parent stacking and the bus and the service access.
But this is just like a conceptual first step. We would want to work with you to really refine this to what you want.
This was just us starting to think of ideas and like how it can best function, but yeah, no way do we think that this is the final version.
So what would y'all do if we didn't get the tax credits? You know,
So,
what y'all
so, well,
forecast
why don't you
is-
take that one, Rob? The
Yeah,
alternates.
and Mike as well. So what we would do is, unfortunately, we would start to have some of the conversations about on those. I don't know if you saw, I was trying to go so quickly, I usually get the hook because I'm passionate about this. But the four different brick walls, how do you build a brick wall? You know, do you want to go faster? Do you want to go cheaper? Do you want to go more higher performance and lower energy costs? You know, there's decisions to make in there, and that's why our kickoff, our alignment with your team doing the visioning and partnering is to understand what are your priorities and make sure we're laser guided on your priorities. So we'd have to go through that process and make some of those tough decisions to hit that budget. But what we would do is we'd set up alternates, right? And say, okay, if we get the tax credit, here's the design. If we don't get the tax credit, here's the design, is alt one.
So could you give me an example of?
Terrazzo floors would be a
Yeah.
great, you could have LVT as your base bid and upgraded terrazzo if you get the credit. Much nicer, more durable, low-maintenance floor that'll last the life of the school.
Or a roof membrane, you might go with a
Yeah.
modified bitumen as kind of the best case scenario. We might have to
Single
kind
ply
of
is
go back to a single
base
ply
bid, yeah.
membrane. There's a lot of different ways to look at this, and I think the important thing is when we build out these alternates, you all get the shopping list once we get the bid numbers, and you decide where your priorities are for your district. You know, it might be important for you all to get a very specific mechanical system, but you're okay to maybe cut back on a couple other things.
So when you say roof membrane, is this a flat roof?
That's my.
So technically, they're called low slope, but yeah, it's a low slope roof. And I know back in the 80s and 90s, pitched metal roofs are what were being done. The technology now of low slope is much better than pitched metal. It's more energy efficient. If you ever have a leak in a metal roof, it doesn't leak where the problem is in the metal roof. So you have to tear apart to find where that is. You have to build extra structure and slope to create a metal roof. So a low slope roof is definitely the better technology these days for sustainability and just for quality and for flexibility in your floor plan. You're very limited with a pitched metal roof to certain linear kind of wing configurations.
But to align on, you know, your priorities, your values, it sounds like that sort of opened up a Pandora's box.
Yeah.
We've already talked about it. Love to-
Understatement of the year.
Yes, sir. So
We
we're
prefer to
saying-
avoid flat roofs.
Avoid fire,
Okay.
no problem.
Okay.
We've done that.
Because all your renderings and your
Got it.
RFQ are showing flat roofs, so he asked.
Happy to do
before I-
it.
We should
Happy to
find
do it.
I think we showed Wake Lawn in there, didn't we? That's a pitched metal roof.
We have done pitched roofs.
Yeah, we've done a bunch
We-
of them. It's just been out of favor with most of the school systems we work with for the past several years. But if you go back to that collage slide, I think Wake Lawn and Walnut Creek are all pitched metal, and they're in there.
Well, and I'll also just say that when we designed Swift Creek Elementary, we evaluated that building with a pitched metal roof and with a
So
flat
you have
roof.
that option.
So we have renderings of that with a pitched
That
metal
one,
roof.
middle
It
top.
does mean that we have
Yeah.
to make a couple
That one
adjustments
and
on
the middle left and the middle top are all pitched metal roofs.
So on a pitched metal roof, would that add to the cost of what you currently
I
have?
don't think it adds to the cost. It just, it's sort of,
All right.
it changes how you design some things. I mean, I don't think it's more costly. It's just,
You're all looking at me.
He's the cost.
There's variance of cost, but sometimes it's impacted by the domino effect as it goes. And I want to be clear about something they said when we talked about that cost, because it'd be very specific to your question. The model that you saw me put up here, when we start to incorporate the things that more apply to your site and some of those things, we had already whittled that down. So if you don't get the tax credits, we can create opportunities to add things that you want, right? The goal is to give you a budget. I think it's real hard to see there, but you can see with the ideas that we've already incorporated, we're at 43 plus, right? So we're under that budget right now. So, and that's just converting the prototype over to what we do know, which is you got utilities that are close by, you've got a flat site, so the site work's not an overly complicated piece to this project, right? So there's some things that we would automatically incorporate based on the data that we know. We look at options like how many students need to be served today. You know, what are the different things we can do? Can we change split face into masonry or to brick? You know, there's things like that that we can incorporate, but I go back to one of the questions that you asked as well, because that's very important. The difference is, we're not talking at $43 million about throwing up a metal building, right? This is a school that's got a life cycle to it that you would expect. anybody's gonna tell you they can go build a metal building for $41 million, right? But that tax credit that they've talked about gives you more flexibility to say, you know what? We really want this higher level HVAC system in this school because the life cycles, it's gonna last, it's easier to maintain, it meets the facilities folks and their requirements. So there's a little difference. We've created a pathway under budget. You get the tax credits, you get some options to do some things that you really want to do for the future of the program.
Look, the design build procurement laws in North Carolina, they're kind of unique in that, you go through this selection, which is a clause-based selection, you select somebody, and then you talk about the price and the contracts, right? So it's hard. Other places will make us commit in this meeting on a cost and a design, right? Which you were mostly excluded from developing, which is unfortunate. But what we'd be happy to do is, some builders would say, hey, look, it's going to take, we have to go through the whole design phase before we'll commit. We can set that commitment date wherever you need it to be, and we'll show you a design that goes to that. I will warn you that if we do it on day one, there's going to be more contingency in it, right? Versus probably the optimal time is after schematics or midway through design development, where we could give you the best bang for your buck on commitment. But we're happy to work with your team to say, hey, if you want us to commit before you sign us, we could do that, but it's going to be different.
Being that you said contingency, where you're under budget right here, does that include contingency?
Mike will tell you.
Yeah, that includes standard construction contingency in that line. It does.
Is there a percentage that you went with?
Typically, it's 2%.
Okay.
Is usually what we have. So, but I do want to be clear, and Rob made a great point, is, this is all built on data, right? So design build data as well as the Swift Creek prototype that was actually executed and completed, right? But nobody has more data on design build schools than Consigli and the ratio team. So, it is some guesswork right now. We still don't have answers to all the programming and some of the things that we do need to execute for you.
We need to go drill some holes. We need to talk. Yeah, we got to do some due diligence.
We need an abatement plan of the
Abatement
existing
plan.
school, yeah.
So it's
Although
better,
those-
it's
but
better
those
to
costs
get rid of
are
those
incorporated.
contingencies.
All right, I think that concludes mine. If anybody else?
We gotta go, otherwise we gotta have
Okay.
everybody else extra time.
Yes, sir.
That's you.
Well, thank y'all for coming.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Just over there.
Forgot to pass out our lead lines.
John Thompson, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, thank you. Nice to meet you.
John Thompson, hey, nice to meet you. Brian, nice to meet you. John Thompson.
We don't do each other. That's always, that's like when I was talking, like, guys doesn't matter. The lady's supposed to be, I don't know, maybe because, I'm sure it's the reasoning behind it.
Gentlemen, we're on a pretty tight time frame, if y'all don't mind. I said, we're on a pretty tight time frame if we can go ahead and get started. Mr. Batts.
I cut the hair off. Should have done this outside.
Yes, I did.
Y'all please feel free to step up to the podium whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
Dr. Williams and members of the school board, Wilson County Schools. First of all, we want to thank you for this opportunity. My name is John Thompson. I'm president of J.M. Thompson Company. And when we first got the RFP for this project, it brought back some memories because 48 years ago, I was the assistant superintendent on the Bedingfield High School that we were building for y'all. And it's still standing, I believe.
Yeah.
So we're proud of that. But we also have teamed up, put together a team of who we feel is the finest school architect in North Carolina, and that's Jimmy Height. So we're going to be presenting our program to you today. And let me introduce my team to begin with. My brother, Dickie Thompson. He will be serving as the project executive for the project. Mia Che.
Hi.
She'll be the project manager. And Wayne Littleton, he will be the senior superintendent on the project. So I'm going to turn it over to Jimmy at this time.
Okay.
Jimmy, you want the clicker?
Thank you, John. Yes, sir. I appreciate that. I'm Jimmy Height, Height Associates. We're school architects, and we're very close to Wilson County. We're from Greenville. And we prepared a presentation. Let's go ahead. Oh, and let me introduce. Zach Bradshaw is an architect with our firm. He's someone I rely on a lot. And Wilson Pugh is our mechanical electrical engineer. So what I'd like to do is try to conform to your questions and have the presentation follow in that respect. So can we take an existing floor plan and expand it? So the answer is, well, the site is very unique. So the solution needs to be a unique solution tailored to the site. So show you a couple of projects that we think have some of the same challenges as the Wells Elementary site. This is a project that we completed in Lee County on the site of one of the 5 remaining Rosenwald high schools in the country. It's a national landmark, and so we were very careful to respect that, went through all the procedures, a very constricted site, and in an area that they really wanted us to focus on security. So, school security really starts at the property line. You really want to have a good secure perimeter. So we've got one there. We've got 2 gates, one in the front, one on the side. They're rolling electrical gates. You can see the new construction. The 2-story building to the left is new, and there's a new cafeteria that's behind that, and the existing buildings have the white roofs. The main high school building, which is now primary grades, and it's K and third, and then first and second are in the new building, and then an auditorium in the back. But it was a restricted site, similar to what we've got to work with here, but we think it turned out very well. This is the main entrance of the new building. It's a 2-story height lobby area. And the old and the new created a courtyard. We like to use artificial turf in our courtyards. It is done so well. Lasts, there's no maintenance, you don't have to bring equipment inside, and the kids really like it. This project was very economic too. It was constructed, finished in 2018 for less than $200 a square foot, all in. It's a maker space. This is the arts aspect of this school. We provided a dance studio. And here's the second project that we think is relevant, and Wicker was a 950 student school. This is also a 950 student school. So the school that you'll build is the same size. This is a 1-story solution for, again, a restricted site, and a site that, as the last phase happens beginning June 1st, this school is going to be completed in July, but June 1st, the old school, which is on the campus, just out of the slide to the top, will be demolished. And then the last piece of site work will be completed, but the building has been constructed without any interference to school operations. And again, this is 950. It also has a secure perimeter. And this is a picture of it. This picture is probably 2 months old, so this building is much further along the way. But and this building was bid a little over a year ago with the site work and all the road improvements, utilities for $317 a square foot. So that's one of the reasons that we feel like we can deliver your school to you within the budget that you say you have. So just a little bit about us, because we've never done any work for you guys before. We've been around for a long time. We worked all around you. You'll see a map in a few minutes. But we are K-12 specialists. We use a systems approach. People say prototype plans. Have you got a prototype plan for this? We have a prototype system. Everybody's got their own unique plan. And here's a concept that we'd like to show you that we believe would solve for the Wells Elementary site for a new Wells Hearn Elementary School. And it's a 2-story solution. What you don't see on this slide is the existing school, which would remain in place while this is being built. Now, obviously, at the last phase of the project, the existing school would come down, and that bus parking and those drives to the left would be constructed. So it's similar to the Washington Elementary School I just showed you. And to get in, let's see, so there's a red line, there's a red outline. That's a secure perimeter. That's a fence. And we've got 3 red circles. You see one for the cars that are going to circulate, and one for the buses that come in off that residential street that are going to circulate. And each circulates and drops off along a covered drop-off area that extends between the autos and the buses, comes from the school, single-point entry. Now, visitors also have an entry at the lower end of the building shape where the administration area is. So basically, we've got the special populations, pre-K, kindergarten and first grade on the first floor, second through fifth. On the second floor, we've got special playgrounds for EC, special populations. We've got a special playground for pre-K. We've got service close to that red gate that you see on the right-hand side for the kitchen. So it follows from bottom to top. Or in this case, here it is, right to left. Administration beginning on the right, followed by kitchen, cafeteria, followed by gymatorium. A lot of times we'll put folding walls between the cafeteria and the gym so you can open up that whole space. We would propose that here. And then media center, followed by art, music, special populations, pre-K, K, and first grade. And the top plan is the second floor plan. Second grade is first on the right, then third, fourth, and fifth. So all in all, this is a 956 capacity pre-K 5 school. And that's a rendition. This is one of the things that I depend on that man right here for. He can do one of these things in like an hour. He's really good at being able to show our clients. He said, well, I want to see what the gym looks like. I want to see what a classroom looks like. And we can show, we're very quick with turning around visuals for this, the architecture, the school spaces that we design. So just a little bit about us, and then I want to turn it back over to our construction partner. We use design principles with everything we do, and that's really been the secret to our success. The reason that we can typically deliver to our school clients for construction costs that are less than average by a significant amount, and also give them a better building. Our designs are common sense. They're cost effective. We pay attention to first cost, but also to long-term cost, forever cost. Ease of maintenance and low maintenance, school buildings that last. That's what we consider sustainability. There are a lot of definitions. You hear a lot about sustainability. As far as I'm concerned, something that lasts and doesn't require a lot of upkeep is sustainable. So the principles are really simple stuff. Shape, rectangles cost more than cost a whole lot less than circles. It's pretty simple, but it's true. And if you notice, what I'm also trying to say is that we use a lot of building designs that connect rectangles. That's actually a less expensive and, quite frankly, an attractive alternative to trying to shove wings together into a single mass. But pitched roofs is also part of the way we design things. And we put overhangs on them. Pitched roof is one thing, but if you don't put an overhang on it, you're going to get your walls wet, and everywhere you've got a leak, you're going to find it. They're designed to last the life of the building. We don't put roof-mounted equipment on our schools. We take kitchen exhaust and makeup air out the sidewall. We don't put those on the roof either. Water is your enemy. That's what I tell my clients. It comes from every direction. It comes from the top, comes from the side when the wind blows, and it comes from underneath. So you've got to have an architect that knows how to deal with that. Keep your buildings dry and keep them mold-free. And the third principle, platform technology, is probably the most important, is that we do this on all our schools. And we use reinforced concrete platforms over the hallways. It gives our mechanical and electrical systems a place to live. Technology, things can be changed as technology changes. I'm going backwards. There we go. So what we like to say is that, you know, your buildings keep up with the times, they're future-proofed because you've got a way to keep systems, building utility systems up and going and replaced and maintained and with new technology. Also makes a stronger building and a safer building. They're just some of the things that we focus on. So we like to show our clients and our prospective clients this chart. We built 23 schools in Johnson County next door since 1995 when Glendale Kinley burned. And our costs are consistent, they're predictable, and if you compare them to the state average, they average 16% less cost. That's real money, and that's why we think we can build this school, best quality for your budget. So the message from us to you is that we know that the way you design a school can save significant cost. It also saves time and give you a better school building. This is that first one on the list that I just showed you. It was built in '95, and this is a fairly recent picture. It still looks new. That's Glendale Kinley. It's not far from the Wilson County line. So some other projects that Height's working on. We are doing a new pre-K-12 school for Terrell County. They got a grant along with Wilson County for a consolidated school. Another grantee was Duplin County. We do Duplin County work, and they were granted $34 million for classroom expansion, gymnasium, and renovations to East Duplin High School. So we're working on that. We're finishing up a needs-based grant that consolidated two of Perquimans County schools in a new intermediate school. And it's a really nice building. There's some construction photos. This is the cafeteria. And they got a big gym, and they also got a gym for the elementary kids. And we're also doing a careers wing, also a needs-based grant for Bertie County High School. And high school is one of the high schools that we did about 10 years ago. And I'm going to turn it over to Dickie Thompson to talk about some of the work that J.M. Thompson is involved in. Just the top one? No, this forward, back, forward, back. Got it.
Okay. Thank you, Jimmy. My name is Dickie Thompson, and I want to thank you all for the opportunity for us to be here in front of y'all today. We think construction is a tough business, but being on the school board, I think it's probably tougher than what we do on a daily basis. So thanks for what you're doing. When we first heard about this project, we immediately thought of Jimmy Height and him being our design partner on this project. And that's for all the right reasons, because Jimmy not only is a great designer, he's also understands the importance of budgets, which is very, very important. He's also a problem solver and probably the most experienced school architect in Eastern North Carolina, without a doubt. But most importantly, Jimmy's a good listener. And that's a critical component to have on your team as a design build construction, when you've got your owner, your contractor, and your designer working together. And you have to work together to be successful. Jimmy would listen to you. Some architects don't listen that well. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but I've done this for 47 years, and I can tell you some do and some don't. And Jimmy definitely does listen. He listens to his clients. He listens to contractors. And he wants to understand what your goals are as far as design and for the success of the project. And we just felt like he was a perfect choice for both you and us on this school project here. Some current projects that we're working on. That picture there is called Unified Middle School of Havelock, North Carolina. It's currently named Tucker Creek, but they're going to close another middle school and merge it with this school. So there'll be two schools in this school presently, and we're adding 3 big wings to the ends of the building now, and they have 800 students that are currently in that building while we're doing this construction. So we're used to working around campuses or universities and also public schools where you have students and faculty present on the campus. So we understand the importance of communication with everybody in the school system about what's going on from the construction, that how it might impact, like power shutdowns, water shutdowns, sewer, things like that. We also developed a very detailed plan for the fire exit plan for this school. We called the fire marshal to come out and look at our plan, and he came out and said he was really impressed with it and said he'd never seen another contractor go to such lengths to put together a plan for the students to make sure that in case of a fire alarm or if something happened in the school, they had an easy way of getting out of the building, which is really important for all of us. The next building here is a project we're finishing up in Raleigh. It's the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation Joint Armory, and that says Technical Services Unit, but basically there's 2 buildings there. The second building is for the State Highway Control. It's their new communications headquarters for the entire state. That's off Garner Road in Raleigh. This next project is for the city of Wilmington. It's their new Parks and Recreation Office and Maintenance Facility, which is almost directly across from the state port. This project has a total of 4 buildings, and it's a LEED project, which is, if you probably know about LEED, but it's a certification of the leadership in energy and environmental design, and that project is just getting started. The next project we're finishing up for Pitt Community College Welding Building down in Winterville. Mia Che was the project manager on that project. And this building is where they teach students how to weld, but they also teach them about how they can get robots to do welding, robotic welding. It's very high tech. It also is the largest welding instruction building in the state of North Carolina. There also, we have classrooms in that building as well as laboratories for welding, teaching labs. So the next question involved what projects have we done with our design build partner, and this one, Mr. Height mentioned about Benhaven Elementary School, which was for Harnett County. That's right outside of Sanford, North Carolina. It's on the county line. That was on a very difficult site that took a tremendous amount of site work to it. I was a project manager on that project. It's a beautiful school. I'm very proud of it. It features things that Mr. Height also mentioned in his design. It's got metal pitch roofs with overhangs, mechanical mezzanines that are large enough where maintenance people can get to the equipment without, trying to take a deep breath and squeeze it in. And has a large library, kitchen, combined dining and multi-purpose room with a stage and playgrounds outside. Next is Community Schools and Recreation Center for Pitt County. This is north of the river, north of the Tar River in Greenville. It's in their government complex out there. The building has a large gym with basketball courts, pickleball courts, recreation equipment, beautiful gym floor in there. It has classrooms in it, multi-purpose rooms in there with folding divider doors. exercise rooms and equipment in there. Mia Che was also the project manager on that particular project with Mr. Height. So we wanted to just kind of show you some of the locations where, between Height and Associates and J.M. Thompson Company, where we have built and he's designed schools. Between our two firms, we have built over 80 schools in these areas right here. Some of the dots, and there's overlap each other, like Wake County, I think we built 14 schools there, and other places. Mr. Height has built a tremendous amount of schools and designed them in Johnston County as well. Oops. Let's see. Yeah. That's just a list we put together of some of the counties and some of the school projects that we have done. We just have the Bedingfield High School here in Wilson. I certainly would like to put the New Wells Hearn Elementary School on that list one day. But we're optimistic and we'd love to work with you. The next slide is, the question is, do we use local subcontractors? And yes, we work over at least half the state as far as territory from like Winston-Salem to the coast. And that's a common policy that we use to try to use local people, especially suppliers. And as a matter of fact, we have quite a few subcontractors that we work with on a regular basis on projects outside of Wilson County that are based here in Wilson. The question regarding minority participation, we're very proud of our record with minority participation over the years. As you can see from the chart below right there, we have had as high as 40% on the Healing Place project in New Hanover County. We built the Wilmington Convention Center down on the river in Wilmington. We had 39% on that. And we regularly get between 15 and 25% participation on our projects. And we work hard at getting that because we have community outreach projects where we meet, we open it up to the community. We do that for educational purposes, explain the project to them, to the folks, and see if there's any parts of the work that they may be qualified or interested in working on. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to my brother John Thompson this time.
All right, thank you, Dickie. As you can imagine, with the short time we have, we've submitted in our statement of qualifications a more detailed outline of our program. So I'm not going to be able to go through everything that we do during pre-construction or construction. I'm just going to touch on a few things right quick. One of the things we've looked at already is that it's going to need to happen, whether it's us or anybody, on this project is you're going to need to perform a hazardous material investigation of your two existing schools to determine the amount of money that's going to be required to do the abatement for those two schools. Because that's going to come out of your budget, so you're going to need to go ahead and find out what that's going to be. The second thing we recommend is that you're going to need to do geotechnical reports or soil borings if you haven't already on the proposed site to find out what's underground, because that's going to be an unknown cost until you do that. And during pre-construction, we work hand in hand with Height Associates. As they develop the design, we develop the cost model, and that's what we would do here. But one of the main things we do is we work as a team with Height and with Wilson County, because we've got to have your input. We want to meet every one of your goals. And then from those goals, Jimmy will put together with his team a schematic design. It's kind of a space planning design, and from there we can create a very preliminary estimate, and that's where we start off tracking the design versus the cost, so that when we get to the end of the whole process, they dovetail together and we're on budget. And the next step of that design will be another estimate of what we call the design development phase, when the drawings are developed a little further along, and we'll do another estimate, a full-blown estimate at that time. And we will also, during this period, we'll identify long lead items. To give you an example, we finished a project in Raleigh recently, and the electrical switchgear had a year lead time. And these vary, they come and go, and so we have to monitor those all the time, and we would want to identify the long lead items up front and be prepared to handle that. Also, we would work hand in hand with Jimmy and his engineers to identify the MEP, that's the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems that you want to use in this school. What, not only, as Jimmy pointed out, what's your initial cost, but what's your long-term use cost? And then we will perform what we call value engineering. You've probably heard that term before. We're going to go through every aspect of the design and perform constructability reviews and determine and make suggestions to say, Jimmy, have you thought about doing this? Would it benefit the project? Will it save money? So we do that on a lot of the different aspects of it. We will then generate detailed bid packages, and I'll specify that because if you don't, there's going to be gaps in your bids or overlaps. And either way, that's going to cost you money. So we want to be very specific and put together detailed bid packages to send out to the subcontractors bidding on the project. We will also, during pre-construction, contact and be in touch with all the governmental agencies, from the Building Inspections Department to the Department of Environmental Quality. And as far as anywhere we have to get permits, we're going to be in touch with those so there'll be no surprises when we get to start construction. And then the last phase of the design is the construction documents, where we will provide our final estimate, and that final estimate will dovetail, and schedule will dovetail into the final project costed schedule. Okay, and Dickie's going to come up and talk about the construction. I'm going to give you a quick construction overview.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to that last slide for a second. That is Broughton High School in Raleigh. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that school or not, but it was built in 1929. In 2002, we renovated that entire school while it was fully occupied with over 2,000 students. We did it in 4 phases. And you see, I didn't used to have this color hair, but that would give it to you. No one got hurt, no fires. It worked out great. And I think the school was very, very pleased with the result of that. As far as the construction review, without getting too many details, I'm going to kind of break it down into 5 things. 5 very important parts of construction: safety, quality, budget, schedule, and communication. They're all equally as important. One depends on the other. One accident can just wreck your whole schedule, can hurt somebody, which we never want. And then if we ever budget, then y'all are in hot water, so are we. We don't ever want that. And we understand with building as many schools that we've built, the importance of schedule. The children have to get back into the school. So that's the biggest things, the 5 biggest things I believe in construction of a school project you have to remember. Also, I mentioned safety. I wanted to mention that our workers' compensation experience modification rate is 0.84. The national average for construction companies in America is based on a 1.0 rating. So in this case, anything less than 1.0 is good, very good. So it's hard to do a lot of times, but if you have to work hard at doing that. At this time, I would like to call up Wayne Littleton for just a couple of minutes and comments from him. He would be our project superintendent.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Wayne Littleton. I've been with J.M. Thompson over 38 years. I live right down the road in Kinley. I've lived in Kinley all my life. My mother is a Wilson County graduate of Lee Woodard High School. She's from Black Creek. My job, I'll be on the site full-time. And I'll be looking after the safety for the students, the staff, and as well as our workers. Also, something that comes hand in hand with safety is cleanliness. Making sure the site is clean, trash is not all around, be tripping over. That's one of our pet peeves. As equally as important is make sure the quality of the workmanship that we're doing and the materials that we're using is top quality, and is up to our specifications, and the specifications given to us by the architect. Third, schedule and budget. I have to stay on top of that. If not, they'll jump all over top of me. But try to stay on budget because you've got a time frame when you got to have furniture delivered. You got to have students back in. And right now, I'm the school that Dickie just mentioned in Havelock. I'm currently on that project. So I know the importance of keeping, everyone safe. Being with J.M. Thompson 38 years, I've been a part of many school projects that we've done over the years. So that's everything I got. I'd like to turn it back over to Mr. John Thompson right now.
Thank you, Wayne. If you haven't figured it out by now, I'll just go ahead and say it. We'd love to be your design build partner for this school. It's right down our alley. This is what we do day in and day out, and we could, I think, be an asset for you. And to that end, on behalf of myself, my brother Dickie, and Jimmy Hyde, we would pledge the full resources of our companies to make sure this project was successful. And you see, one of the reasons is because we realize it's not about us. It's about them. It's about the children. But thank you so much for your time, and we're glad to take any questions.
Board members, we have about 8 minutes. Do we have any questions? Dr. Fitch?
First of all, thank you. And when I look at your renderings here, and you talk about the schools, thank you for using pitch roofs and not flat roofs. But you have a second floor. Are there elevators for those second floors?
Yes, ma'am. And this is a small drawing, and I'll point it out. Elevator's in the middle of the building. It's in the middle. So kids all come in here, go this way. That's the cafeteria, that's the school office. It is the gym. Restrooms out here. This is an ideal place for kids to queue up to either get in cars or buses. And the elevator is here. And of course, here's the elevator on the second floor. So the second floor really starts right here. So there's the elevator.
Okay. And with the high cost of steel and tariffs that are engaged with that, how do you see staying within budget with cost of steel and other materials?
Well, there's a couple ways we can go. We used to always do steel frame. And then all of a sudden, steel went real high. So for the first time in many, many years, we looked at load-bearing masonry. And lo and behold, it was less money. These last two schools I've showed you, the high bay area is what I'm calling the gymnasium, really tall ceiling spaces. That's still a steel frame. But these areas will probably be more cost-effective, maybe, with load-bearing masonry, which you're going to have masonry anyway, unless contractor says, well, this is cheaper, so but that's why you want to do design build, because I can design it this way. I can do load-bearing masonry, or I can do steel frame. I could even do, metal stud with high-impact drywall, which we did on the Wicker School. The Wicker School was very economic, but that's why very smart to pick a design-build method, because they will tell us in the beginning which is the most cost-effective way to go. But our recent prices, our recent per square foot prices, are telling us that we can design this and meet your budget. Because this is a very economic plan. I mean, it's as pretty as any school I've ever done, but it's still economic.
When you look at building, and I'm sure that what you presented to us was prototype facilities, if we have our own architectural plans for a school, can you work with plans done by others?
Here's what I would say about that. If you've got other plans and you like, it's probably you like this or you like that. And people come to us all the time with that. You know, we did a gymnasium over here that we really like. We like this classroom setup. You know, we like the way this cafeteria works. That's what I want to know. And I'll put that all together in a unique solution for this. I don't know of they call us the prototype architectural firm, but I don't know of a prototype for this site. But it doesn't bother us in the least to have a unique solution, which is what you deserve, using our prototype design system.
Anybody else?
I noticed that on the majority of the buildings that you're building now, that all of them are coming with fences around them. And because of that, I guess it's because of the security risks that we're noticing today in our environment. How do you propose using that method, but aesthetically making it still look pleasing to the eye? Is that possible to do?
The only way I know to do it is to use an aesthetically pleasing fence. And they are typically aluminum tube. It's the old, give me a cast iron fence. Well, they don't make cast iron fences anymore, but they look like cast iron fences. They're aluminum tube, so they don't rust. They're powder coated in a color, typically black, and they typically have a queen's hat on top or a bowed out section. They're different weights that you can specify. The military has obviously a very high grade of what we call ornamental fencing. A school would be a medium grade, probably a step up above a commercial grade. So it would be a durable, sturdy, long-lasting security fence, but it would also be attractive.
I've got two questions, just real quick. Your price per square foot on your list, it stops at 2020. We saw a lot of inflation after 2020. What are you seeing it at right now?
Well, the most recent one I showed you, Washington Elementary, which is finishing now, which is a comparable, actually it's they're really nice finishes in that building. It was $317 a square foot. It was bid about a year ago.
My other question to you would be, in one of your pictures you had a mezzanine versus a drop ceiling, which is what we typically see. What benefit do you see in a mezzanine?
Well, when you say mezzanine, do you mean the utility platform?
The utility platform.
Right, well, we always drop a ceiling below it. So what you see is a drop ceiling. You don't see the underside of the mezzanine. There's about this much space between the bottom of that concrete.
But the drop ceiling, grants access to be able to run, BX or plumbing pipes or whatever.
Right.
How do you see a mezzanine as being better than like the drop ceiling?
Well, we use the mezzanine for a number of reasons. The primary reason is that we put the mechanical equipment up there, so we don't use floor space downstairs. So, you can add 10%, to the square footage of our buildings because we're building that much floor space upstairs, but we don't count it in the cost, and we don't count it in the square footage. We consider it just a bonus because you're pitching a roof, right? So you got an attic, you might as well use it. And so you can make a stronger building by putting concrete across the hallway and giving all the mechanicals and electricals a place to live. You're also making the building stronger and you're saving a lot of steel, and I'll tell you why. So here's the platform. So when the wind blows, that platform is like a horizontal beam resisting that wind load, so it braces the building. We actually ran a study after we did the first couple of these schools, And at the time, the savings was like $500,000 in steel. I don't know what it is today. It's probably at least twice that much. So you're using a less expensive material to do what steel is doing, to brace the building. And then the third benefit that I think is really important, it makes the building stronger and is the safest place in the world for kids to be if you were to have, God forbid, a tornado with, 300-mile-an-hour plus winds, that you're in a concrete tube. They all go in there, shut the doors, and it's the safest place you can be in the county.
Sorry, one other thing that I think you were getting at, if you've got a lay-in ceiling and you've got all of the things, you've got even maybe some units hanging or plumbing piping or anything up there, the maintenance guys or the contractor, if they have something to fix, they have to bring a ladder into your hallway when your kids are going back and forth, pop out tiles, work up over their head above the ceiling, working on stuff. In these platforms, we've got walk-up ladders that are really wide.
They're not ladders, they're stairs.
Stairs, I'm sorry, yeah.
They're stairs.
So the contractor or your maintenance guys can get into that. You don't have to bother any of the kids, you don't have to bother any of the students or any of the staff. And you can walk almost anywhere in the school, they connect. There are some that are gaps and breaks, but it saves you from a safety standpoint for the kids and the stuff down below as well. So you do have access above a lay-in ceiling, but you gotta be in the school to get above that lay-in ceiling. And this, you're kind of in the school, but outside of the school environment.
All right, well, it's perfect. Thank y'all. We're out of time.
Well, thank you all.
Really appreciate y'all being here.
Thank you very much.
Here we go. We've also got some printed copies.
Thank you.
We've got 5 minutes, so.
How are y'all?
Doing
Hello?
good. Thank you.
Good, it's good. There you go.
Perfect,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Yes, sir.
I'm good. If I get any more paper, I'm gonna drown.
Can I get you 2 of these or 1 of these? No, 2 of them. She said.
All right.
I mean, for the first time, I don't know what we're supposed to do.
All right, so next we have TA Lovin. So,
Do you want us to use our clicker or do you have a clicker? Here it is. Oh, perfect. Yeah, wonderful. Thanks. I just tested. Awesome. Awesome. Very good. Did everybody get a presentation and a handout that you wanted? Yeah. Except for that one? All right, well, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having us. Seriously, I cannot say that enough, that we are really excited to be here. So on behalf of the TA Loving and CPL Design Build team, thank you. We have spent the last several weeks preparing for today. And so we're really excited to share with you kind of the ground that we've covered for the last few weeks in preparation. We do believe that that this is the right team and that we have structured this team uniquely and individually for this project, for this pursuit, so that ultimately we can deliver for you an exceptional value. So my name is James Wood, and I'm a project executive for TA Loving Company. All that means for you is that I will be your resource, and I'm going to make sure that our team has all of the resources that it needs to be successful and to, again, deliver for you all an excellent product and deliver the vision of success that you have for this school. I will be your single point of accountability, and so you're looking at me, and if you have issues or concerns at any time, then I'll be the person that you can reach out to, and I will be your advocate. So thank you so much for sending the questions ahead of time to us. So what we have attempted to do is to take those questions, understand them, and we have tried to incorporate the answers to those throughout the presentation today. But we did give you handouts, and there's room on the back of that sheet. That way, if you've got further questions or you want to ask some follow-up, feel free to take some notes, and we want to make sure we answer those for you. So our goal today, in these few minutes in time, is that we want to focus on 3 things. The 3 things that we believe separates and differentiates our team. First and foremost, that we are your local experts. And so we think that that is really, really important. So what we did is, again, we assembled a team that was local here to Wilson and to Eastern North Carolina. And so we have tried to maximize that local presence while also giving you access to the absolute best builders and best designers that are available. We want to talk to you and describe for you our process today that we think that is different and it's unique. But we also want to demonstrate for you what that process looks like. So what we have done is the last 3 weeks, we have started that process and we have implemented those processes into delivering what we'll share with you today, which is a concept. Let's see. This next slide, this is the team today that you'll hear from. Now, this is only a subset of the full group that will be involved working on this project, but you'll hear from each of these folks and they will introduce themselves, so I'm excited about that. But that is not the full team. And so there's a org chart, again, on our handout, but what you see here in the crowd today is that we have brought with us a lot of resources because we wanted to put some faces to some names and to show you that, hey, this thing means a lot to us. And so we brought a lot of horsepower to show you that we are ready to hit the ground running and to exercise these folks and put them to work on your project. What I also want to do is say that this team here is committed to this job. So we have capacity, we have set aside and earmarked these group of folks that the timeline is perfect and that they are ready again to hit the ground running and to start working on this school for you guys. So we talked about being local, and I cannot stress that enough. We are based in Goldsboro,
and in Raleigh. So we came from all about 30 to 45 minutes away from here. TA Loving Company, we are Eastern North Carolina. We have been in Eastern North Carolina for 100 years. Matter of fact, this is year 101, and so I've had the privilege of, during this past year, celebrating and commemorating our 100-year anniversary. And it's pretty neat. We did a 100-year book that, again, kind of walked through what the history has looked like. And so I was flipping through that thing the other day as we were thinking about this job, and we built our first 2 K-12 schools in 1936. One of them was right down the road in Nash County, and the other one was right down the road in Kinley. So we have been building schools in Eastern North Carolina for 90 years, and so it means something to us. It means a lot to us, and it gets, honestly, me very excited and passionate to just talk about that, because our kids go to school here, our families are from here, we go to church here, we're involved, we play baseball games here, and so this matters to us a lot. And what that means for you with us being local, there's a lot of benefits to that. And what I would say is that this job is going to have our top priority. This is going to be our #1 focus, and it absolutely cannot fail. You will have access to local leadership that, again, is within 30 minutes at any given time for any reason. We can be here very quickly. We will not have people that are staying out of town. And I also think that that's a big deal because lower the costs of our general conditions. And what that means is that money gets reinvested back into the project and back into program. The last thing about being local is that it builds in accountability because it matters to us. This job cannot fail because of the relationships that we have with your team and with this community. We have also brought with us some other local experts, and so you'll hear a little bit from Robert Bartlett here in just a little while with Bartlett Engineering. So Bartlett is local. They're here in Wilson. They've worked for the school system on a lot of projects over the years, so I'm excited about him sharing that. He knows all of the people at the municipality and the permit office. He knows the site circulation and the challenges associated with that. So we felt like they were a very important resource that this project specifically needed. We have also brought with us Watson Electric and Eastbound Mechanical. And those 2 firms we have built dozens of projects with, and they are local to Wilson County. And again, our sole focus was keep not only the talent here in Wilson County, but keep dollars in Wilson County. And so they're going to come along with us, and they're going to help us design and build this school. The last thing that I'm going to say, and I know I've talked a lot, and so the last thing that I'm going to say is what you see on this slide is that there is a lot of integration in this team. This is not the first time that we have worked together as a group. And so most recently, Corey, our superintendent, he has just finished a job with Graham in New Bern. Logan Hodges, who's with Dewberry, she's on our team, and she actually used to work for TA Loving Company. And so I have built projects with Logan, even working for the same company, and so she is going to be an incredible asset to this team. And then not to mention the 5 design-build schools that TA Loving and Graham have built together just a few years ago in Horry County Schools. So this is a unified team, and what that means is that not only have we already started, but we are ready to hit the ground running, and there is no learning curve.
Thanks, James. I'm Graham Boyd. I know some of you, thankfully. It's nice to meet those of you I haven't met yet. I'm CPL's National K-12 Practice Leader. I've been practicing architecture for about 20 years now, and over half of that has been specifically in K-12. I've had the pleasure of working with Wilson County Schools over the last 4 years, both at Benningfield and Hunt. Robert and I worked together on those. We worked with Eastbound on those. So there's already, as James pointed out, a lot of synergy between our firms and our team that puts us ahead of the game so we don't have to get to know you and the way you work and your team. I've worked well with Greg and Daryl and his team. And then Logan, as she'll talk about a little bit in the coming minutes with Dewberry, doing the facility assessment at every single school, walking through those buildings and really understanding intimately the needs of Wilson County schools. So this is an interesting project, and I know that you guys are kind of very aware of how it works to combine 2 student bodies, right? You get a lot of passion from the community when you're talking about combining 2 student bodies and uniting them and bringing them together. And so our job as design build team is to take all that, we'll call it passion, and potentially positive chaos that surrounds developing this school. And our job is to take that and create clarity and focus that for your team, so that way you're able to make the right decision when you need to make it. As you'll see, and as Brandy and Leslie will lay out with our approach, we've already dove in, and we've already looked at this challenging site and understand that there's some complexities to getting a building to fit, a school to fit on the site at Wells, but we've been deep into it, and we've kind of pulled it apart and really studied it over the last few weeks, and we're really excited to talk about that today.
Hi, I'm Brandy Bullock. I'll be your design build manager. Our team approach is structured to deliver a very safe and inspiring elementary school for Wilson County by uniting design, construction, cost management, and schedule control under one collaborative framework. This ensures accountability, transparency, and efficiency all the way from concept through construction for you guys.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leslie Harris. I am a senior architect for CPL, and for this project, I'll be your architectural project manager. I want to talk about our approach a little bit, but before I do that, one of the key takeaways I'd like to leave with you is that our design build team from day one is going to be fully engaged and fully collaborating to execute this project for you. We're no strangers working together, as was mentioned previously, so we know how to get that done. So in terms of our approach, I don't want to oversimplify it too much, but we've been able to distill it down into 4 key steps and processes throughout the project. The first one is what we call survey. That is understanding the district's needs, understanding the site, looking at all the parameters and constraints and your budget. All of those are going to be, we'll collect that information, and those will be used to move into the second step, which is what we call the vision phase. And throughout the vision phase, that's when we engage the community. That's where we start realizing ideas. That's where we take that information and start to prioritize it, understand it, and organize it into a path that we can then start to actually design the building. So if that first phase is information collection, the second phase is information processing and analysis. And then we move into our design phase. And that is an iterative process. You're probably familiar with it, where we start through schematic design, go into design development and construction documents, and each of those processes are key milestones that are going from very general ideas into the specifics, so you'll understand what the design is. The TA Loving team will understand what the design is as well. Throughout that design process, what's unique to the design build project delivery method is that we are still collaborating with TA Loving. We don't go off and design in a bubble. We have real live dialogue, cost feedback and cost monitoring to make sure we're on budget, constructability reviews from the construction team to make sure that what we design can be built economically and efficiently. Out of that, we have actually taken a deep dive into your project. So when I mentioned that from day one that our design build team is fully engaged and collaborating, day one for us was the day that we received the RFQ. And so for the past few weeks, as kind of a demonstration exercise, is very conceptual, we started applying that process, and we're very excited to talk specifically about your project and to learn some of the things, to share with you some of the things that we learned throughout that process. Of course, the main thing is that we did that without your input. And so, again, we had to make a lot of assumptions, what ifs, but when we really get down to working with you, then you'll be an integral part of being able to work with us so you can make decisions smartly and based on strong analysis.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. Always happy to be here to talk with you guys. I'm Logan Hodges. I am a project manager for Dewberry Engineers. I support our asset management group, as some of you may know, but I also support our building services group. So I get to do exciting projects like this to support Dewberry. I'm really passionate about Wilson County Schools. I'm passionate about the work that we've done together already and excited about the work that we could do in the future. I've worked with both CPL and TA Loving, as they have said, and I'm excited about the value and quality of work that they can bring to this county. I've had the privilege of walking through every single county building that you guys own, making me have the intimate knowledge of who is Wilson County and what you guys are, and what makes it so special, and the learning environments that allow the students to learn, create, and be inspired. Throughout our facility condition assessment, a lot of our K-12 experts and our building leaders also worked on the facilities in the district, creating a vested interest in the success of Wilson County schools throughout Dewberry. We're proposing to build a new school that complements Wilson County school system. So I'd like to talk about where we are today and how we've already started collaborating with one another. Like everyone has mentioned, we already started getting in a room together. We had conversations, we had meetings, and we wanted to present something to you that we understand that this project is unique. There's unique challenges and there's reasons to be creative on this building site. And how do we bring two communities together? How do we meet all of the goals of the school system? You know, thinking through arrangement on the site, future growth, school operations, and that community impact, all while being good stewards of your resources. We have to think about the entire facility life cycle, from initial cost, operations, and life cycle considerations. We're not just thinking about now, but we're also thinking about your future. We started by analyzing existing facilities through aerials, as you can see on the PowerPoint here, and talked about what that existing knowledge was and studying the existing campus conditions. And we brought the full team together early so that we could have everyone in the room discussing what and hearing what we were discussing. This helps support the project's unique considerations and how we move forward with this conceptual design. As you see here, we landed on Jones Elementary as a template for a solid layout. We understand that you have a couple of these throughout the county already in this similar type of template, as well as other communities in eastern North Carolina using the same type of layout. So as you see here, you've got a central core hub. It has a secured vestibule central area with administrative spaces, cafeteria, your mechanical hub, and multipurpose rooms. Then off to the sides, you have your classroom spaces. This would allow us to have your younger students on one area and your older students on the other area, and as well as creates growth opportunities in the future. We even looked at finishes throughout the county to really know what does Wilson County look like. You know, we're not just looking at the layout, but also what you guys, who you guys are. And we took this and began testing site-specific ideas and opportunities on the Wells site. Thank you.
So as Logan mentioned, we took Jones and we put it on the site to see how it would fit. I believe, Dr. Fitch, you may have been the one that mentioned in the last board meeting about taking an existing footprint of a school that you know works for you and has been a stalwart building for almost 2 decades, or about 2 decades. You can see there's a few challenges with this site, right? So with Jones, it's just a little too spread out, and as Robert will mention or explain to you guys about the differences in the site in a little bit, you could just kind of see why Jones is tight and it doesn't really fit the topography. So what we did was we actually took Jones and we evaluated it, we analyzed it, we broke it down into the parts and pieces so we could understand what decisions were successful in making the school what it is. So in the middle, you see how we broke it into the learning cores and the middle common area. And then we evolved that design. We made it a little more compact. We enlarged it as well. The capacity at Wells Hearn is not going to be the exact same capacity at Jones. We understand that. So we took that layout and we figured a way to evolve it to a potential future for Wilson County schools. We took that, we brought it onto the site, and you can see it fits a lot better as far as the topography with the ravine up there. It gives some space for service in the back. It gives some space for play fields for the kids, and it also allows us to utilize the space of the existing school for site vehicular movement. I'll let Robert get a little bit more specific with the site.
Good afternoon, Robert Bartlett, Bartlett Engineering. Privileged to be here before you today. Do have David Vi here with me. David's co-owner in the company and project engineer, and together would be the two of us dedicated to working on this project from a civil site design, and we certainly look forward to that opportunity. Interesting, David actually attended school at Wells as an elementary student. I doubt you'll have anybody else you interview today that attended school here, so a little special there. Some of you may know that David actually serves on board of director with Wilson Education Partnership currently, so certainly through that role, I think he has a very vested interest in making sure that this project is very successful and the best that it can be. It's going to have a lot of eyes on him watching what's going on, so certainly looking forward to that. As Graham and James talked about, being a local team, I don't think you get much more local than Bartlett Engineering. Bartlett's been here in Wilson 29 years now doing surveying and engineering work and providing solutions for various projects. And we've had the pleasure of several of those projects being for Wilson County Schools. And some of those projects for Wilson County Schools have been with these same team members here today. So it has been fun the last few weeks, sort of reconnecting with some of those and looking forward to continuing the opportunity. I didn't attend Wells. I went to B.O. Barnes Elementary. Wasn't at Wells, but I have some vivid childhood memories of Wells. Actually, it's been 50 years ago, I'm sure at least. There used to be a baseball field behind Wells School, and I played my first T-ball games there. That baseball field disappeared somewhere along the line many years ago, I guess, but those memories have not disappeared, and look forward about the opportunity to be involved with transforming this site, redeveloping this site, and having the facility there where children in the future can have their lives shaped and have similar childhood memories and be able to look back on them. So as has been mentioned, the team has, through a process of going through different iterations and everything else, sort of settled on Jones Elementary as being the model school, and that's special to me because we were actually the civil site engineer for Jones Elementary when that was constructed, so we certainly know that site, understand that site, learn things from that site, and we feel we can take that knowledge from that and then apply it to this site, and have already been looking at and doing that. Of course, as we know, this Wells Hearn site is different than Jones. Jones was a wide open tobacco field. We could lay it out how we wanted to, had opportunity to do what we wanted to with it, and that was great. But this one's going to have some challenges, you know, to site a new facility while keeping an existing one in operation on what's a very tight site. And but we don't shy away from that. Bartlett Engineering, we actually exist to provide engineering solutions, so we embrace those opportunities and thrive on solving complex challenges. And we're confident that we can provide, we can strategically bring clarity to this complexity. As you've seen from the presentation, and as you'll see shortly from Corey, there's been a lot of looking at the site and how to make it work, how to phase it, and everything else. Spent a lot of time on that, on how to redevelop it safely, efficiently, and economically while maintaining those existing operations. Although we already understand what we think that phasing will look like and what it'll look like, we do know that there will be collaboration needed moving forward to involve y'all, involve appropriate school staff, involve city personnel, review agencies, the neighborhood, and the community in general to make this work like it needs to. Priority will be given to safety and security by separating the construction activities from the school operations with controlled access and defined circulation paths. And we just look forward to the opportunity to see this through and ultimately have a facility that all stakeholders will be proud of.
Y'all feel free to take a look at that, pass it around. I can put it closer if need be. Real quick, once we confirmed, at least at this point, that we can actually fit that Evolved Jones layout on this site, we just did a little bit deeper dive in the program of Wells Hearn and the student body and the count. And that's what you see on the screen here, that the central core, that is that shared space for all students. You've got the little kid learning pod on the right side, and then that two-story big kid learning pod on the left side. And if you look, we've also taken a little bit of liberty, knowing the analysis that we've done of all the schools in Wilson County. We've taken a quick look at what the entry would look like to invite all the students into their new school and really unite those two student bodies.
So good afternoon. My name is John Witcher, Director of Pre-Construction here for TA Loving. We did a pretty deep dive with several of the projects that exist here in Wilson County. And through that, we've developed an analysis, as you can see here on the screen. It's kind of hard to read, but the idea behind this is to get through an analysis of exterior facade, roof systems, and so on, so that we can, mechanical systems, so that we can take the best of each one and incorporate it into this, because cost does matter. We understand that you have a budget that you have to work with, and so working with that, what I can honestly tell you is that it's our goal and our mindset that we're going to deliver you a school for the amount of students that you have needs for with the budget that you have, okay? And we're going to do that through our process, as James and Graham mentioned previously. We've taken a look. We've brought several of our subs with us today. We've got about 40 subs that actually work here out of Wilson that we can pull from. We got over 400 in our database that are within 50 miles of here. So we've got a good resource to pull from. Schedule is also a big part. When people think about schedule, they think about the construction schedule, but it's actually more than that. We also need to schedule and keep track of the pre-construction effort, outside permitting, to process of design. And then also quality control, building in quality aspects, and we do that through involvement of our teams. So every one of our team members, from a superintendent on down, is going to have a chance to take a look at the drawings as the design develops, and we make sure that the best quality is incorporated. In addition to this, we also know that minority business is also a big part of what you want out of this project. I know that 10% is kind of the running goal. I can tell you at TA Loving, it's 20. And we've been able to exceed that on many of our projects in the past, as well as this one. The way we're going to do that is through community outreach and getting these subcontractors involved so that we can break down these packages and get them incorporated into this project.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Corey Friels. I'm super excited to be here, and I will be the superintendent on the Wells Hearn School project. I was born in Goldsboro, raised in Eastern North Carolina, entire life, graduated from ECU, and since that day I've been building commercial buildings. I'll be your guy on site to ensure a safe project, to ensure a QC'd project, and a successful project. That being said, we know you guys have some concerns. Obviously, it's a construction site right next to a school. We want you guys to be assured that safety will be paramount every step of the way. Controlled site coordination will be important to this as well. We're going to take and develop a loop road and a fence system that keeps our construction site completely separate from your guys' school. And through each phase of construction, we're going to reconfigure and realign our safety plan to align with your guys' safe school operation.
Thank you, Corey. So you obviously can't probably read many of the activities on that slide there, but that's a schedule that we've already developed. And just like Corey said, we have already developed a plan that works. And so from today, there are 838 days between now and August 1st of 2028. And we have developed a schedule that works and that will get kids in seats by August of 2028. And so that's our commitment to you all today. What I want to do is I just want to end with why we're here and what is unique and what differentiates our team. So this is what we've talked about. We are a proven team. We are your local team. We are local experts, and we are committed to this school, to this project, and this will be our #1 priority. We have a process that not only works on paper, but that we think that we've already demonstrated to you, hopefully, through our presentation of how we've taken the design from Jones Elementary and incorporated it to tailor it to this specific site. So with that, what I would like to do is invite David Filial to stand up. He's our president, and he's got a few words.
Just very quickly, I'd like to say thank you again. I think the team has shown you that they've put a lot of effort and work into getting to this point today to make sure you guys understand that the team's custom built for your project. We've got a room full of people that have worked together for a long, long time. James mentioned that we've been in business for 100 years. Our first project is about 9 miles down the road. It's a bridge that's been replaced probably twice, but that was project #1. Part of our first 100 years, we would certainly like to be here for our second century working for Wilson County Schools. So thank you very much.
And with that, we're at the end of our presentation, and we'll open it up to your team for questions.
All right. Board members, Dr. Fitch.
In looking at the plan you present, and thank you for sharing with us that you took the Jones plan and looked to see how it could fit, if it would fit within the existing framework. Why one, with multiple buildings, why one building with a second floor?
Yeah, and so, Graham, I think you're probably the best person suited to answer that one for us.
Thanks for asking that question, Dr. Fitch. So typically, with a school with the little kids, you need to keep them all on the first floor by code with DPI regulations and stuff like that. And a lot of those shared common spaces are 2-story or extra tall with the cafeteria and the gymnasium recreation spaces. Generally, the 4th and 5th graders and above are more suited for a second floor. And the challenge here with the site was it was so compact that really it lended itself to get the 4th and 5th grade up on that second floor. That said, our job is to work with you to really talk through, like, what is best for this school? If we deem from meeting with y'all and the stakeholders that like a 2-story school is not an option, cannot do it even though it works best, we're gonna work to make that happen.
What kind of future expansion would you see with the projected layout that you have given if we were to have an increase in student population and the need to expand? And we would have that extra space because the current facility would no longer be there and we would do.
That's right.
How would you see
That's right. So as we kind of work through the layout and the site with you, both of those learning pods can be expanded. And so when we design a school like this, it would be for a larger core capacity. That way you're not having to go and build a whole new cafeteria or add to the cafeteria. You're able to add those curriculum spaces to get a larger capacity for the school. And so that's how with those learning pods, we're able to kind of expand and do it much more affordable in the future as you're continuing to grow.
The other thing, too, just to add on, if you don't mind, having Dewberry on this team, we feel like is a is a game changer because they know the facilities. And so a lot of what will be designed in the systems of this school will allow for future capacity and growth as well.
That's right.
Okay. And so I assume that with that second story for the fourth, fifth graders, there is an elevator.
Yes, ma'am.
Board members? So when you say expand the pods, are you talking about expanding forward?
We'll look at both options, Blake. So whether we expand in the back or in the front, it all kind of depends on how we lay out the site. You know, you have a few constraints on the back side. Now, for the larger, you know, the big kids pod, if you will, that lends itself to expansion on the rear. For the little kids, we're probably going to look at how the site lends itself for expansion on the front side. And I think you just hit the nail on the head, right? You've got the space where the old school gets demolished. And that's the constraint right now. How do we build a school in the occupied site to keep the kids in the school and to keep them safe, to position the new building where it's out of the way of the existing school so you can build it? But then you're going to have a lot of land now to build on in the future if need be. So how do we lay out the roadways and site approach to lend itself for that?
And if I'm not mistaken, I saw on one of these renderings or site maps that it looked like there was a driveway that went just behind the school, and there was like a house right beside it. Would that be for bus parking, or?
That was for the loading dock.
For
and
service,
storage
yep,
Okay.
try and keep, I think one of the ones is up on the screen right now is kind of the construction laydown is in the back of the school. One of the reasons for that is to really keep that separated and keep the kids safe with all that loading and unloading, and that is also going to help with carpool, pickup, drop-off, and construction activities, trying to really separate them. But that eventually becomes a service yard area.
And where would your playgrounds be?
The idea, and can I show you on this?
Yeah, please.
So the idea with making this more compact, Blake, was to kind of, as you saw when we put Jones here, Jones really comes all the way out to here, and it really had no space back here in the safe area for playgrounds. Now, we can certainly work with you, once this school is out and we look at the roadways coming in, we can start to look at playgrounds in the front, but we really wanted to try and keep space back here that's flat, so we can utilize it for student recreation.
So I can't see that, but at any rate, playground space in the front would only be during the construction phase, or is that for after?
So afterwards, we would try and use the back area behind the school for the recreation. Now, with pre-K and kindergarten, they have contained right outside of their classrooms, but for some of the bigger kid playground area, that would be towards the rear of the site.
Because playground at the front side is kind of a safety hazard.
That's, yes, ma'am.
And does not keep or guarantee the safety of the students because it's towards the street. So during that phase, so that's for the after effect, but not, because right now they would be using the site that they already have. And so we're talking about for after build.
So I think right now what the plan is that, you know, if we're both going to be working, well, we're going to be working on the site and y'all will be occupying the site, right? There will likely, I imagine, be some level of temporary things. We even considered, okay, do we need to build a temporary playground to make sure? Because right now the boundary line for where we're going to be working, in order to have enough safe separation, we can do anything temporarily to make sure that the kids still have access to play spaces during construction in a safe environment on their side of the fence. And then as soon as that fence goes away and the building is complete, the goal is to have the play spaces behind the building.
Okay, all right. So during this phase, if there's a question of safety, fencing can be put
Yes,
up
ma'am.
in order to ensure the safety of students.
Yes, ma'am. And so that was another thing, and it's in our handout somewhere, but that was one of our ideas was, okay, what's the best way to separate these two spaces? And so there's a drive entrance, and then there's some already paved areas. So what we kind of wanted to do was come in temporarily up front over the summer and build a logistics road that wraps the existing school that would allow us to have basically like a hard structure area that really separated us, and then put a fence on the back side of that curb. And then we could move the fence to either side of the road and potentially use it also for site circulation when we're doing that changeover between the phases.
All right, board members, any other questions? Well, I think that's got them. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate your
very
time.
Thank
much.
y'all for being here.
No, I assume that I would just keep this with you.
Okay. Yeah.
I know that you're gonna take your you want me to leave it with Dr. Williams, or do you want to just leave it in here?
If you would leave it with Dr. Williams.
Okay.
I was going, when I was right there at the end, I was thinking, yeah, if you could flip those two, so that the K through 2 could access the playground from the outside.
And that's, so, I saw your eyes, like, you were about to, and I was
Yeah,
waiting for you. 'Cause
but that-
see,
that-
that highlights right there, like, that's the process.
All right. All right. Fellow board members, our next presentation is from Barnhill. You can go ahead and start.
Ready to get going?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Talking this thing? Good afternoon. My name is Matt Turner, Vice President with Barnhill Building Group. On behalf of our team, thank you for the opportunity, and we appreciate the chance to come in and present our team and our qualifications, and hopefully what you'll see is our approach and solutions to this project. So just be real quick, but I did want to highlight a few things about Barnhill and Oakley Collier. We are obviously headquartered here in Eastern North Carolina, right up the street on Highway 301, just down the road. So, you have a vested interest, you have ownership in the room, vested people that have spent 20-plus years of their career here at both of the companies. We partnered on many projects, celebrating our 76th year this year at Barnhill Building Group. Proud of 145 employees just alone in our construction management professionals. And one particular statistic that we take a lot of pride in is our repeat client percentage, and that's 70+%. Proven partnership. So this was one of the things that we feel like sets our team apart. We've been building together, I think, in more than 30 years together. A combination of design, build, CM at risk, and hard bid projects. Listed a few here of the recent ones here on the screen. Active projects, this was one, I think, the 6 questions that were provided to us, so thank you, by the way, that was very helpful to help, collect our thoughts and presentation topics. So question 3 was, what projects do you have active currently? Obviously, we're pretty proud of the design work and pre-construction services and trying to get out of the ground now in Frederick Douglass. We're also working in Dare County, EMS number 5, Dare County Public Works, also in Craven County on now about our 8th project, the administration building downtown near the courthouse. And also, we're doing multiple projects. One should get started any day now, Boys and Girls Club for the Coastal Plains in Beaufort, North Carolina. K-12 projects, Barnhill cut our teeth in actually the K-12 sector. Let's see, in 1970s, Barnhill's first project was a gymnasium expansion to Tarboro High School. Since then, just in the last 10 years, Barnhill has completed more than 100 K-12 projects, 42 of them, as well as the resume of Oakley Collier, are elementary schools. 3 particular projects we'd like to highlight of our K-12 experience. We are doing with Oakley Collier the early college high school for Dare County. Of course, the design build project with Wilson County Schools, Springfield Middle. And you'll be hearing more about Green Central High School now. We're closing in on the first phase completion of that project. Multiple team members of this team that's here today with Kerry Walker's leadership did a multi-phase, very challenging logistics project, also a needs-based grant high school just over in Greene County. Eastern North Carolina experience, we do feel like that is a big asset to you as a client. This is our backyard. This is where our people live, work, and play. This is where our subcontractor relationships are and our experience. So we've listed a few of our clients that are districts east of I-95. A local team, this is really the holistic structure of our design build team. Obviously, you'll see the executive oversight and leadership all coming together through our director, Kerry Walker. But it does take a village, right? So you're seeing the design expertise, pre-construction expertise, project management, operations, and support staff. One thing I'd like to highlight is this team alone, there's 5 Wilson County residents, several that are here today, some that are not. So on their behalf, they're very excited about this project because anytime you get a chance to build in your backyard and pursue a client, right, to where your family and kids go to school, it's a big deal. Of that list, the construction team, I'll say, right, so the people that will ultimately be leading the ship once this boots on the ground, there's 9 people, several within the room today, that either reside and call Wilson County home or just on the outskirts in adjacent counties. These are the experts that you'll be hearing from today that are in the review, are in the meeting today as presenters on behalf of the Barnhill Oakley team. And they will be introducing themselves in just a moment. So we have a full build-out consulting team that will follow underneath the Barnhill and Oakley Collier as a complete design build team, including our geotechnical engineer, Terracon, our civil engineer and landscape architect, Timmons Group, and we have a representative with us today, Will Altman. Bennett and Plus, our structural engineer, and MEP engineer, PDC. There's a lot of why behind this team. All of them have an expertise in K-12 construction, but each of them have active K-12 and design-build work right now with Barnhill. So project success starts here. So as a leader of design build for Barnhill Building Group, this graphic really more or less displays, for us, it's all about how do we collaborate, come together with solutions that this delivery method affords for your benefit, right? So for us, it's all about schedule, speed to market. How efficient can we be with this decision-making? How efficient can we be with how we procure work, how we package work? How efficient can we be with how we permit and phase work with our logistics? One particular thing I'll pull out of this particular slide is, fortunately, the state statutes do allow us as a design builder to leverage our ability with relationships of design assist trades. So part of our strategy is to bring on some of those key trade partners early in the design process, get them to commit to a target value design price, lock in numbers quickly, but also commit their resources, which we all know is very limited in this market. So one of the advantages for the client, not just to commit costs, but to commit skilled labor early in the project. And I will turn it, one more slide here. So as we all know, right, we start to think of ourselves as a design builder more, instead of just guiding the deal, if you will, right? We like to consider ourselves a deal maker, right? And so early on, it's all about, can you balance and how do you balance program, scope, and budget on behalf of the taxpayers, the people of Wilson County Schools. And so for us, our strategy is all bundled around getting a program that's efficient enough with the DPI standards, but also meets your budget, right, to keep it on budget quickly and early and through the remainder of the design. And now I will turn it over to Joey Wilkins for pre-construction services.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, Matt. Good afternoon, everybody. Like Matt said, my name is Joey Wilkins. Might move it up a little bit. I'm Director of Pre-Con for our Capital Projects Division. So I work right in Rocky Mount, just north here on 301. So as mentioned, the first step we would need to do is create a target value design. So hitting the mark, so to say. So we've done that, and I want to get into more of our approach for your project here later in the presentation. But the target value design is extremely important, basically setting values from the beginning, going over the main cost drivers so that we can align your project within your budget and maximize your program. So we'll get into more specifics about your project here in just a little bit. So one of your questions that you had was how we going to pursue achieving MBE participation, which is I'm very excited that you selected design build for this project because our goal is 10%, but we feel like with the design build process, we have a little bit more buying power, a little bit more leverage with the subcontractor supplier community. So we can not only get first tier, negotiate getting a higher percentage with first tier subs, but also their suppliers with the second tier. And so we have a lot more flexibility to try to maximize your participation in an MBE. We just have a couple of examples up here with Frederick Douglass Elementary School. 7 of those 25 bid packages turned out to be MBE subcontractors, similar to Rocky Mount. Also, 8 bid packages out of like 25 as well. So we can't determine what happens on bid day, but with this design build process, we think we have a lot better control over that. So another question you had was how could we maximize and handle local trade partners? Well, we are local, so it makes it a lot easier. So we've been in this market for 70 plus years, so we've got a great relationship with the local subcontractors. So we've listed here just the radius of some of the subs that are within our 30-mile and 50-mile radius. Just to kind of show you some proofs in the pudding kind of deal here, you just got the Wilson, the Watt project that we did for you a couple years back. Had 30 bid packages. Out of that 30 bid packages, 33% of them were local subcontractors within a 50-mile radius of Wilson. Similarly with Frederick Douglass, which we're building currently, out of the 24 bid packages, 12 of them were local subcontractors. So we're local and we take pride into hitting that local market. Plus, it's better, honestly, for the cost because we're not having to go outside of state or further out beyond the 50 miles to get subcontractors. So this slide here just kind of highlights our cost certainty. A couple of projects here on the right are two elementary schools, fairly recent. The Rowing Salisbury job we're just finishing up, and we completed Faust maybe a year or so ago. And then on the left here, and you can see the numbers here with within 1%, less than 1%. Over to the left is just some stats over the last 6 years that our pre-con team was able to achieve. We had a 100% conversion rate from pre-con into construction. That was based on about 34, 35 projects. Then the number below is a variance from our last estimate to our GMP, our bid, where we went out and bid the project, was less than 3%, so it came in under budget overall. And this is almost on $2 billion worth of projects. So we've got a case study just to go over with you today. This is actually on Frederick Douglass. You know, we had some challenges early on with Frederick Douglass. Back in early 2025, the board made a decision to select Oakley Collier, who we have with us today, which was commend you, it was a great choice. Once we started in February with a new design, a new concept, we almost treated it more like a design build, even though it was a CM at risk project. And you can see the original schematic design budget estimate to the final bid GMP that actually just bid out just a few months ago. And proud to say it came in right on your budget, right below. So we couldn't have done that without the outreach. As you can see, for local bidders, but obviously 88% of all the bid packages opened up on day one. I think we averaged over 5 bidders per bid package on that. So the competition, we knew the budget was tight. And we'll talk more about your budget here later. So we know this budget will be tight for the program requirements that you're asking for. But we think we can do it. Turn it over to Ann for just that one.
Okay. Thanks, Joey. And I'm Ann Collier with Oakley Collier Architects. It's great to be back before you again. I do have with me John Hamm, who's our senior project manager and will be the same for this project. He also handled Frederick Douglass, so he's intimately knowledgeable about you all and goals and expectations. And then Will Altman is with Timmons Group, and Will, I want you to come up too because we're going to present this together. We are project approach is what we want to show you, and we've done some homework. So we've done a little work ahead to prepare for today. You've asked about, do we have a prototype design? So what better prototype than Frederick Douglass? When we started that project, our first meeting with staff was about what does this need to be, because we knew we had some challenges ahead. And we understood that Jones Elementary was a school that the board was very pleased with, and that layout was intended to be a prototype for future elementary schools. So we based Frederick Douglass on that, and continue to use that prototype for this school in this presentation. So that will be the basis for what moves forward. We will be, if we're fortunate enough to work with you on this project, we'll incorporate things we learned through that process of Frederick Douglass into this also new school. So with that, we have done some preliminary programmatic layouts on how to adapt the smaller Frederick Douglass into 1,000 students. And so this is the same basic layout. It is just expanded. So instead of 23 classrooms, we have 62 classrooms for the grade levels. We've done a preliminary program for DPI, and that's the need on a 1,000-student school there. In addition to pre-K, exceptional child, and the core spaces. One of the things I did just to back check, because you want to make sure you're approaching it from one direction and the other, just to make sure they align. In the DPI, they do a school capacity assessment. And so putting all this information in there
from their form itself self-populates into 1,022 students. So very doable with this layout. We've also done a little bit of ahead of time planning on how, what kind of look would we have. We do like the idea of prototypes because it is consistent through the school system and your programs and your operations for elementary schools, but we want to give its own identity. So we changed a little. It's a larger school. We changed up the front door a little bit to give its own identity. Also pay a little homage to the residential neighborhood that it sits in. And so we just got a few pictures of that to whet your appetite. And then we'll move on to some site options. We've got two that I'm going to talk to you about right now, and a third one that we'll get to after a few more other presenters. So this is about 110,000 square feet, according to that program and what we vetted through DPI. And so we want to talk about advantages and disadvantages of this layout. So you'll see the existing Wells Elementary at the bottom of the screen and the amount of area available for a one-story school. So it fills the site. And so, but the site plan itself, or the floor plan itself, allows for great supervision along the central spine corridor that you can stand in the middle at the administration, see all the way to the end of each wing, which is very good supervision. We can separate car and bus drop-offs, which that's a key piece. DOT wants that to happen. We also want that to happen for safety. We can easily achieve the stacking space. We'll talk a little bit about that in a moment, in the footprint where the existing school sits now. And so we'll keep cars off of Kincaid. And we are allowing for an occupied campus. And so this is, it's not, there are challenges to this just from the proximity, but none that would be hard to achieve. Disadvantages, so we'll go on that side. We always look at pros and cons for each option. It does fill the campus, so while it fits, there's not a lot of extra room. That provides some limitations to construction access, lay-down areas, work zones. Kerry will be talking about that, and he's solved those problems, but it is a tight site. Well, I say front door is hard to find. The front door is the bluish purple space. That's the administration area on this program. And so it is in the center of the site. So while you're facing Grove, which is more of the secondary street, you're not close to Grove. So we think we can achieve a good layout with that in that location as well. But it is in the interior of the site. And then, again, our long travel distance provides great operation because of the size of the school is a long corridor. So that center spline, in fact, I don't know the length, but it's a pretty long distance. So we'll get our steps in walking this school. Because, again, of the site and the room on site for bus turnaround, we do have a few limitations with that. It works, but it's a little tight. And the same with the playground. So we'll pocket playgrounds in between the wings for the appropriate age groups. If you'll notice, let's see, and the last one, we would phase this construction, and so during the second phase, when the school is occupied, that first semester of 28, we would have temporary parking and some drop-off areas that would be required because of the demolition and all of that. Limited room for expansion. Like I said, we filled the site, so I'm going to let Will talk about this.
Sure.
As a final build-out.
Thanks, Ann. I'm Will Altman. I'm with Timmons Group, so I would be the civil engineer on this project. As we were preparing for this project, we took a quick look at the layout and how it would operate. Some of the main things that we have to look at is the safety for both the parent drop-off and the kids coming on campus, as well as the bus interaction. So we like to separate those and have one on the back. And as you can see with the capacity of the school, there is a very long, windy path that is required based on MSTA for stacking. You need about 3,200 linear feet to get from Grove Street, winding through the parking lot up to the main door. But we do have those separated, so parents would come off Grove, buses would come off of Kincaid. But as mentioned as Ann mentioned before, this does limit playground availability as you are taking up most of your open space currently. And that could potentially reconfigure that front parking lot so you have a play space out front. It's just not pushed behind your school.
And then we are required to provide fire access around the building so that that road or access that goes all the way around the back of the building is not for general public, but would be gated for just fire access. So site option 2, so we said, okay, well, if we're filling the site up, let's just throw this option to see what would happen if we did a stacked classroom wing. So this is the same layout with a 2-story classroom wing only. So 3 through 5 would be on the upper levels that is allowed. Pre-K, all the other services on the ground level. You'll see from this, let me get to the advantages. It does pull the building closer to Kincaid, which is a great visibility tool and easy access for visitors coming. There is flexibility on the site, a lot more flexibility for placing the building. It could move around in this open area. It would improve construction logistics. Again, Carrie will mention that later. We have a more compact floor plan in as far as a footprint on the ground. The square footage is a slightly smaller because it does require some additional, slightly larger, because it does require some additional stair towers at the end of each wing because they're 2-story and an elevator. But we don't think that's very much square footage, and we think we can work it into the plan and still be within the dollars. The smaller footprint reduces the roof area, but we add a second floor. The stacked classroom, we think, can offer some mechanical, electrical, plumbing efficiency. So we can stack toilets, we can stack HVAC rooms and IT rooms so that things can run vertical versus long corridors. So there's at least things to talk about here. I know 2-story is not a preferred for elementary, but we had to look just to see what it would do for this site. We still separate cars and we still occupy the campus during construction. Disadvantages, again, supervision split on 2 floors for classrooms. We do require the secondary stairs and elevator, and we anticipate some additional structure, again, required for a second floor, a second floor area, larger steel, things like that. So now I'm gonna shift and let Joey come back with some dollars.
Okay, so you've seen a couple of the options here. So one of your questions was based on the budget. Would we be able to provide you a 1,000-student school for your $44.5 million budget? And so we've been, over the last couple of weeks, we've been studying that. And this is just showing you some examples because we are a leader in K-12 education building. So you can see we've got 6 examples here within the last 2 years. 3 of these are elementary schools. So this is how we base our comp, almost like a real estate comp, on our cost model to give us a good start on a target value design. So the approach to your project, so the short answer to your question is yes, we can provide you a 1,000-student school for your $44.5 million budget, but it's going to be a challenge. But we're excited to have the opportunity to be here and hopefully get selected for it. So we have put this plan together on our cost approach. What you're looking at here, if you can see it all, the top number basically is our cost model based on similar projects, K-12, 1,000 students, 112,000 gross square foot project. Based on your existing site, we've done a conceptual estimate, site estimate, as well as a comp, like I mentioned. So that's our starting point. And then, of course, I've got the additional soft costs, you will, not the construction costs, but the design fees and other costs that are listed here below, basically bringing your project total to a little over $43 million. I did put this, the demo Hearn as elementary as an add alternate, but as you can see, it still fits within your budget. So we've also got owner contingency, and basically you're subtotaling $44.8 million. It does show it a little bit over the budget, but this is a very high level, good starting point based on our experience. Most of the school districts that got the $44 million grant, they're shooting for 600 students. So this is a testament to a high mark and a good challenge for us. But we'd be excited to be able to try to do that for you and bring in 1,000 students to school for the community.
And I would say we were probably a lot further away than that when we started Frederick Douglass, weren't we?
That's right.
So we feel like we can make it happen, so.
All right, good afternoon. I'm Jason Deans. I'm the director of VDC for Barnhill. Just wanted to, first introduce myself and say this project's personal to me. I grew up in Wilson. My wife's a kindergarten teacher at New Hope, and I actually live less than a mile from this job. So, I mean, that gives me a unique perspective, I think, to, have a real sense of ownership and, deliver a school this community can be proud of. My team's currently working on the Frederick Douglass Elementary School project, which is what you're seeing here. We're deep in the BIM coordination process, and we're leveraging the 3D model to identify issues early, create a more predictable outcome for the field. That process gives us, clear visibility into what works and, even more importantly, what doesn't work. What that means for this project is we're not starting from zero. We're bringing those lessons learned directly into the Wells project. Because this is a version of the same prototype, now delivered through the design build process, we're able to engage even earlier with the design team and more meaningfully engage with the design team and our trade partners, using lessons learned from Frederick Douglass to influence layout decisions, systems routing, and constructability before the drawings go out for bid. Instead of reacting to issues, we're helping prevent them and delivering a more efficient process. So, we're not just coordinating the models, we're using real-world project data to design out problems before they make it to the field. That early VDC involvement, it allows us to better drive coordination, reduce rework, and ultimately improve both cost certainty and schedule while maintaining the quality this school system expects. At the end of the day, like I said, this isn't just another project for me. It's my community, and we're bringing the team, the experience, and the partnership to get it right the first time.
Me. Good afternoon. I'm Will Guthrie, Project Superintendent. Been with Barnhill almost 19 years. Had several successful projects with this team, including Springfield, the repairs. Want to talk a little bit about logistics. Carrie will get into all the layers of logistics. This here is something we kind of throw together kind of just to show how, the traffic patterns and all that. We actually did a little job site or site visit and witnessed the pickup. So we all know how chaotic those things can be. So, at the end of the day, we want to keep all our students and staff, safe. But Carrie will kind of go through the different scenarios with the logistics and all that. So,
thank you, Mr. Will. Good afternoon. My name is Kerry Walker with Barnhill Contracting, Senior Project Manager. Been with Barnhill for 19 years, so I've done a lot of projects with Will. I'll be your point of contact from start to finish, and I'll be on site with Will way more than he wants me to be. So I live in Eastern North Carolina. The reason I was chosen was I live in Eastern North Carolina. I want to work in this part of the state. I love it here. I've done several design builds already, so I've already had them under my belt, so there is no learning curve for me. Relationships with design assist partners, which Joey was attesting to, that those are going to be your driving force as far as pricing wise. We got very good relationship with these guys, and they're going to work with us, I can guarantee you that. Also, working relationship with Oakley Collier. I've done several jobs with Oakley Collier. All of them have been successful. Then also working with Wilson County Inspections, who is going to be a vital part of this. And then once again, working with you guys on 3 or 4 projects, Springfield, Watt, and some other projects. Jumping into logistics, I'm going to start from the lower right and work my way counterclockwise around. So this is fluid. This is the site we have now, and this is basically for option 1 and 2. But again, this is fluid. We can change it, manipulate it, do whatever we want to, or whatever. But this right here gives you an idea that we have been thinking about it and what's going on. So basically, everything coming in from Kincaid with the drive there for the construction entrance, we've got it wider than normal, just so 18-wheelers and everything can get in there and stay away from the traffic patterns when there's school on those times. We've got a construction trailer there. We've got a lay-down yard already set up, and then we're going to take in our enabling work over there, we're going to take as much woods out at the very top to get all the area there for lay-down and future ponds. Then we're going to come around the school, and you've got an existing gate and fence there. We're going to trim that up a little bit, add a new gate there. So we're going to have a secondary entrance. So we're also going to come in from Kincaid. We're also going to come in from Grove as well, and that's going to help with the traffic. And then once we get in past the gate, where the air handler is now, we're going to put a gate or a fence there, and we're going to coordinate our section and our deliveries off from where you're going to be. So where the cafeteria is and everything, we're going to take those trees down and stone that, so you have plenty of parking, plenty of spaces in there to work, and we'll be using the same drive, but once we get that fence in there established, we should be able to be segregated from you guys and should not be interfering with your everyday school activities. So the next one, so basically this is when construction has started. Really, the only thing that really has changed here is that we're putting the laydown yard up in the very center. So that's where we're going to be using our secondary entrance for any cars and everything for contractors who don't have company trucks will park there. We'll have connexes, materials. Working at Green Central High School right now is very similar to this layout. And those laydown yards right there have been the helpful as you can imagine, putting stuff on site, getting it built for, getting it there, making sure we don't have any delays in the future. So that's building the construction there. Next one, this right here is the summer before we turn the building over. We're actually going to convert the existing parking lot now into the permanent park, or for the temporary parking for the school once it's turned over, and that'll be done in the summer. So once they come back, the school won't be ready, but they'll be in that parking place when it is ready. They'll go into that parking place. The next phase, this is where the school is open, the bus loop is in, the ponds are in, and the fire loop either will be a temporary or permanent. The parking lot area there, we've got temporary access to the building, and then the red areas where the building is actually being demoed, we fenced it off, we got it coordinated, we moved our job trailer, and all the entrances we'll be coming in from Grove to get all the demo traffic away from Kincaid and away from the students and everything. Then the next phase here is the school is down and demoed, and then we're actually going to convert the existing parking lot that we were using for temporary into permanent parking lot, which will be the next slide, which will be the completed project at the end of the day. So that is December of '28, you are moved in this scenario. August, sorry. No, it's December.
That's what
There you go.
August they move in, December we're done.
That's right. All right, so the schedule, we'll get to that.
You done with this?
Yeah. All right, so on the schedule, right now, we're looking at awarding contracts, so this is fast and furious. This is between April and May, that's now. So this thing has got to move in order to get you in. Design and permit would start in June through February, which is 9 months. Construction would start in March and end in August. So you're moving in class in August, and then we're demoing from September to December, and then we're finally off-site in December. So that's where we roll right there with that scenario. Then Ann.
I'm going to jump back in here for a minute, and Will you come back up too? So, as architects, we probably go through 10 options before we show you 2. So we have another option we'd like to share with you that was just in conversation about what ifs. So this option actually is considering that there may be an opportunity to relocate Wells students earlier than planned. Not sure if that's an option, but let me explain to you kind of our thought process. We know it's a smaller school. We also know Toys Not is where Frederick Douglass students are, and there's some transition there. So depending on timing and how maybe that can happen, we thought, well, what if we could put Wells students in Toys Not temporarily or earlier? So that does, what it does for you is really open up the site for the plan. I'm not, again, this would take lots of discussion among this group before, went further. But it does open up the building placement on the site in a very good location. It has great visibility for your front door and your main campus. Very flexible in the placement. Lots of, again, what we talked about before, work zones can operate very streamlined. Separate car and buses. We don't have a phasing plan, and I think that's the biggest thing if this is even an option. We get streamlined logistics. It also accelerates the schedule, and Carrie will speak to that in just a moment as well, and we think it will reduce costs. So we want to throw this option out there. There are some disadvantages, not as many that we have thought of yet, and there may be more. Again, we have this long travel distance down the main corridor in this plan, but it does require swing space, and that may be a huge disadvantage that's not be able to overcome, but it's something that we thought was important enough to bring to the table that we're thinking about, trying to make sure we're heading, with you all at the table, heading down a path that makes the most sense. So again, we did a ultimate site layout for this option, and you see how it keeps, well, I'll let Will describe it.
Yeah, in this one, it frees up the site a lot. And I know safety and security of a school site is priority. With this allows and keeps the separation between your parent drop-off and your buses coming along the back. You would close off that drop-off loop on the right side of the plan during school hours, so people wouldn't be going to the back area where the play areas are, but that does free up that whole back lawn that y'all currently utilize, and I believe for field day
Yeah.
and PE back there. So that would create a nice, secure play space in the back, while keeping that frontage along Kincaid where most of your utilities and things are, as is.
So again, it is just another option we wanted to present, to put on the table, and I'll let you take the second part.
We got just a couple more slides. I think we're coming up on that 30 minutes. Is it okay to wrap up those last few slides?
Yeah, you've got 9 minutes and 30 seconds.
All right.
All right, so on this option here, again, we stay with the same concept of starting April, May of this year. We get a notice to proceed in June. Then December, you vacate wells currently, and then we start in January with early package, abatement, site work, utilities, and early steel packages. So that helps us, like Ann said, speed up the schedule. We start construction full bore in April, finish in August, and in August, we're done 100%. There's no coming back. We're done basically 3 or 4 months early on this scenario here. Going from that, swinging into construction contingency management. So one of the best things that we do, if a job is managed correctly and things go right, and there's a lot of things that got to go right on a job for this to happen. However, we've been fortunate enough that me and Will, on 4 jobs we've got right here where we actually giving money back to the owners. So Will did Pitt Community College, and they gave back the owner $99,000. At Watt, we gave back $389,000, and at Springfield, we gave back $83,000. And then at Green Central, we have $1.4 million, and what they decided to do is take that money, because it's very similar to this scenario here with the demo phase, and while we're demoing it, they've actually decided to add more scope, more alternates and everything that they could not accept at the very beginning because they couldn't afford them. They can afford them now, and we're actually working those into the schedule, and our finish date is going to be the same, but they're getting $1.4 million of additional work they did not know they were getting up front. So if you manage this correctly, it's a benefit to everybody at the end of the day.
We're going to wrap up, and I'd love to turn it over for Q&A. So one of the things that I'd like to reinforce is, again, just the local impact that this project makes for you, but also us. Obviously, hopefully you've seen how valuable this project is to us. I'll never forget it. We called John Smith, my boss, Mr. Wilson, for a reason. He walked in my office in, I think, 2023 when this opportunity hit the headlines, and I still had the newspaper today sitting in my office and said, I don't care what we win, but I want to win this job. But look, in all jokes aside, this project does have meaning. We love to engage with the client and the students, obviously in K-12 work. We had the privilege of partnering with several with you with the Frederick Douglass video, the field day that we did over at Watt. And we just want to thank you for your time. Thank you for this opportunity. And we appreciate you as a customer, and would greatly appreciate the opportunity to do another project together. Thank you.
All right. 4 members. Dr. Fitch.
You talked about the playgrounds. My question was, if I can see it, hold on. Can the playgrounds go to the Wells area once the old Wells is demolished? I don't know what I wrote there, because that's not right. But I should have said
It could be stored in place somewhere.
So would you like to salvage the playground equipment and reuse it?
I think on option 1, we didn't fully show the big open area where the parking lot is. So I think the placement of the playground area would be in that front area close to fronting, like at the corner of Grove and Kincaid, where you could fence it off,
Okay,
where the big green space is.
okay. And you talked about the playground being at the front of the school.
Yes, ma'am, in this option. So the layout has to be pushed to the open area to keep wells in operation. So in order to keep a playground, as the building is taking up most of the space, we would have to push the main play field, which you currently have in the back. It would have to come closer towards Grove Avenue.
Okay.
You would still have your pre-K class, or playground that is close to the classrooms, that is a requirement. But most of the play field would probably be closer to Grove Avenue.
Okay. Was it a slip of the tongue when you say you're going to demolish Hearn, or did you mean you're going to demolish Wells?
The wells, sorry.
Okay. Roofs are gonna be sloped, correct?
Yes.
And if you have a second story, or a two-floor building, are you gonna have exterior egress for emergency and not have to rely on coming down the steps interiorly?
So the second exit out of classrooms for the 3 through 5th grade is not required as a secondary ground level. That the third through 5th grade is allowed to be on the second floor. We would have fire egress at each corridor, end of each corridor.
Okay, for exterior.
For exterior exits, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And with your third scenario, your third option, you're looking at moving the students from Wells to the current temporary Frederick Douglass. So that means that you plan to be finished with Frederick Douglass, and they are being in their new home, which would allow those students to move from Wells to Toys Night, correct?
That would be an ideal, and I'll speak a little, and you may not. There is some timing that I think would need to be discussed with this group before all of that is a full decision. But we also do know that Frederick Douglass is a small population, Wells is a small population. We know Toys Not has a larger capacity that could potentially house, not completely, have not completely studied that, but we'd like to look at that to see if that's an option, to see if there's a way to house for one semester. Would be a one semester.
I'm not seeing the advantage of moving that population twice, moving from Wells to Toys Not, and then moving them from Toys Not into the newly constructed school. That's an extra step process that I think could be very cumbersome and discombobulating for students and staff who have to pack up and move all at two different times. But I do like the possibility that it could present a cost return to allow for some other flexibilities. But I have an issue, Mr. Chair, with a two-step move of those populations of the students and the teachers. If they're already settled into their current wells, rather than having to disrupt twice for those students.
And we did list that as a disadvantage for that reason, because that is definitely a disadvantage to have to move twice like that.
But in either option 1 or option 2, even though it would be a tight fit, we could make the move, we could do the construction within our grounds if the Jones site plan is modified and fit within that footprint.
Yeah, the footprint we showed is the Jones plan with the appropriate number of students for the new wells.
Yes. Okay, thank you. I'm through.
All right. Board members, any other questions?
Does option 3 give you a better, if we needed to increase the size, would option 3 be better as far as being able to add on to it if we needed to?
It does, and you'll see in this layout, so, you know, we've tried to protect open areas. We actually visited this existing site on field day, so we saw that, I'll say chaos, the organized chaos, because it looked like a lot of fun.
Organized.
But we really worried a little bit about that, still maintaining some space like that and how we do that. So this option 3 does push all of that to the rear, which is also, as Will said, a safety, you know, somewhat safer for a school site. But yes, so each of the other options, the placement of the large play area is not, we would say not the ideal right now. There's still a lot of work to do to get to that final, but, and we would be working through all of those with you on how that.
And option 3 is 2,000 square feet smaller than the original one,
Yeah,
I think, is that right?
We are, in fact, Joey was pricing 112,000, but we believe we can get to about 110. So,
All right, well, our time is up. Thank y'all for coming in, and I think we're gonna have some discussions.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.